Hey, and welcome to another episode of Jono's Late Chat Show, Love and Relationships. And today, as always has my guest with me, Delara, is back. And also, as
the dog today.
as guests, we have Rob and Kirstie back.
Hello.
Good evening and good morning.
Yes, Rob is in in Australia, so he's a day ahead of us.
What time is it there, Rob?
So what was that again, Delara?
What time is it there?
It is 7:30. Pardon me, I'm just closing this door behind me. 7:30 on Saturday morning, December the 5th.
This is awesome because here where I'm, it's 12:30 midnight.
Ah.
For all the time zones.
And the lunch 9:30. Cool.
Oh, nice early 9:30.
At least there are two of us who are now in Saturday time. That's good.
So, welcome everyone to another Friday evening. We missed you last week, Delara.
No, I miss you guys too. It wasn't fun in the dark. Candles. I'm not used to it. We don't have that kind of power cut in the UK. So it's quite regular here, which is, it's quite unusual. But hey, it was meant to be.
Well, Ika and I managed to dress up the whole evening with compatibility. So that was good. And then also we had Rob come on to share some wow stories.
It was a very good show, to be fair.
It was really good
It was a really good show.
Sounds like I missed it.
So, Rob.
Is joining, by the way?
Sorry?
Is Ika joining tonight?
I would assume so, but knowing him, he's probably munching away something. Well, how should we kick off the show?
We could continue where Rob was kind of going from last week.
We could continue from where Rob left off from last week, actually.
Bloody hell. Okay, so where were we? You'll have to refresh me, Kirstie. Where did we leave off last week?
I can't remember. You were right in the...
Right in the
I think it was basically the Rob show.
It was the Rob show.
It was great.
I kind of came in and took over, didn't I?
It was a nice Rob show. I think it was. If you want to update Delara, what you shared with us, that'd be great.
Bloody hell. Let's see. I think I pretty much wound up sharing most of my romantic life story recently. I find myself in a bit of the phrase an unusual position comes to mind, and it seems like a very dry and, inaccurate way of describing where I am. But, on April 10th last year, my lady wife of 15 years and my lady of 18 years, Vicky, passed away due to liver failure. I moved out from my mum and dad's and in with Vicky, and she was pretty much the first serious relationship I'd ever had. And I am now in this strange space where I'm still grieving for her and, going through that process of, I don't know if recovery is the right word, but, just I guess that trying to fit that grief into my life, and also, come to terms with this woman of who's been in my life for 18 years simply not being here anymore, whilst also just getting out there a little bit. And the other main thing is that this is the first time I've ever lived on my own. So this, May, June, July, August, September, November, the last 19 months have been, I don't know, something of a learning curve for me. And this year I've dipped my toe in the dating scene, had a couple of disasters, learned that perhaps dating is not for me right now, but still found myself in a pretty good place with some great, funnily enough, some great friends as a result. So I guess that's the broad level summary of where I'm kind of at. Jono, Kirstie, is that gelling with what you remember? Is there anything that I'm glossing over that or that I missed that you guys now remembering that I did mention?
I mean, you just kind of went into a little bit more detail. I think you were talking about your current situation a bit more as well.
Probably yes. Yes. No, I did kind of say that I'm. Pardon me. I just realised my little Chewbacca bobblehead who sits on top of my modem had somehow wound up facing the wrong way. So, yeah, I guess I've, in part due to the dating scene, whatever, I think I sort of realised that I'm just at a place where I'm happy to have friends, and if I have a couple who we enjoy sharing each other's beds with every now and again, then that's great. So, yeah, I seem to be. I guess that was. Again, I feel like that's maybe like the broad level summary of where I'm at, but yeah, it just that idea of maybe I don't have to be in any great hurry to find anything new and just take life a little bit easier, relationships wise, and take it where it comes.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like I missed a lot. First of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. I cannot even imagine like what it must be, but I just want to say that it's amazing your strength. Like 19 months, considering such a short amount of time, but it just shows that your strength and courage to carry on. So I admire you for that, because not that many
Thanks.
people would be able to do that. So that's amazing, and thank you for sharing, of course. I can only imagine that after such a long time, going back to the dating scene, because everything has changed. I bet for my life that the time that you met with your partner, like there wasn't even any online dating or anything like that. So
No.
it must be a bit like a shock to the system.
Yeah. Now having it's I almost feel with respect to all the wonderful women out there who are using it to try and hopefully find what they're looking for. Having experienced the dumpster fire that is Tinder, yeah, and look, and as a white guy, I know I have no frigging idea what women experience on Tinder. My experience, I've no doubt, is a walk in the park compared to what the stories I have been told by women who have tried Tinder, women who I've met on Tinder, and like God, Rob, you've got no idea. It's yeah, and I think it's also I never really experienced, I don't think, the dating scene when I was younger. I mean, the guy you meet now, when I was younger, I did struggle a lot with confidence. And sometimes I've always been a good speaker. I've always been very polite. I'm an only kid, which means I do tend to perhaps, I don't know, not relate to, not necessarily get on better with, but just interact interact more successfully with adults than I do that I did people of my own age at the time. So yeah, I never really got into dating. Like I said, Vicky, my late wife, was my first serious relationship. So yeah, this really is kind of uncharted territory for me.
But also, Vicky was older than you, right, Rob?
Yes. Yeah, that's another thing, Della. One thing I told people a lot when we were together, when they were asking about, especially if they hadn't met her yet, I would say that when I married Vicky, I inherited 5 stepkids. The youngest of the 5, her only boy, is 3 years older than I am. He just a few days ago turned 47, and I turned 43 in July. So, yeah, it was, it was. We did. If you'll give me just 1 second, I have this. I'll be right back. I've just got to see if I can get a picture off a wall.
Oh.
Here we go. This. There used to be a local weekly newspaper called the Cairns Sun, and at one point, one of the people who ran it, because I knew them through work, where are we? Decided that one Valentine's Day they wanted to do a good news story for the front cover, and this was taken by the photographer of the Cairns Sun. So this, if I can put it there, there we go. Can't quite see around it, but yeah, this was Vicky and I
Aw.
in, I think, around about 2007, 2008. But this wound up actually being the cover photo of the Cairns Sun for that issue. So yeah, that was us. And I think the reason why I pulled that photo off the wall and mentioned that article is because, the question came up. It's, how do you handle the fact that you are likely to be, that you're likely to be surviving your wife? And I kind of said, well, I take it as it comes. And in all fairness, I'm the one who's commuting up the road to work every day. It's not impossible that I might get wiped out in a road accident. And, she winds up, because I was husband number 5. And she did lose a couple of husbands to death. One, unfortunately, was a suicide. The one before me was cancer. So, I sort of said, well, it's not, pardon me, it's not impossible that she could wind up surviving another husband again. But that's sort of like I guess that's the choice you make. But yeah, the life came out, I guess, the way the odds predicted. And yeah, here I am, in part trying to work out who I am, but also trying to not worry too much about working out who I am and figuring, like, for God's sakes, the guy I am at the moment isn't too bloody bad. Don't try and push him into any evolution that he maybe doesn't even need to be making. It's yeah, it's what it is.
I personally don't think that you need to try to change yourself and to fit into something. I think it's very honest and real and raw and endearing, especially with the times that we're living in. And I think, like, when it comes to the dating, sounds like you're doing the right thing. Sounds like you're meeting with people and become friends. That's probably it's not. I mean, in a way that I guess that it would be nice to kind of reconnect with women in a, not just necessarily like dating and become really serious or anything like that, but more like how to reconnect with new women, the people that, because you only had your wife for so long, since you know yourself. So in that aspect, it sounds like you're doing actually like quite well. And I wouldn't say that I mean, I'm not a dating coach, so I always say that I don't do that kind of, I mean, not in the commercial way, if you like. I do more like relationship coaching, but it's the most important thing that you really align with who you are. And a lot of people do need quite a lot of work. It's because that there's a lot of conditioning and there's a lot of like trauma or different things coming from past relationships, but you had one relationship. And then I think that the main experience is there, like grieving and heartbreak and loss, and to get used to living on your own, and to obviously from 2 you become 1. In that aspect, I guess, like find your own identity, like who you are, not as a husband anymore, but as Rob. But it does sound like you're doing all the right things, Rob. But I really wouldn't rush. I wouldn't get. I mean, you never know anyway. But if life brought up an amazing woman to you, you feel like, yes, I could actually try something. I really don't think you need to rush. To be honest with you, nobody should rush when it comes to the dating. That's kind of, that almost defeats the purpose, because when we rush, that means like it's almost it's like I want it now. That's like trying to control. So for me, like where I'm hearing that, it's you're handling things really, really well. Like,
You mentioning rushing actually brings up something. Hey, we've got Ick on board.
Hey. Hello.
I knew that kind of reaction, so I kind of like
Yes.
Lara
Yes.
first.
Right when I was about to say something poignant, Ick turns up and wrecks the whole thing.
Good to see you guys again. Lovely
Hello.
faces.
You too, mate. You too.
Hi.
Just
Keep going. I'm just listening.
So, well, we were kind of Delara was saying something very much on point about not rushing, and I think that's one of the things that the dating thing has actually kind of taught me. Is I needed to learn. I really needed to learn what infatuation was, because in a few instances I was mistaking it for love. And all those that wonderful high and all those wonderful good feelings. I thought, holy shit, this is it. It's like in the back of your mind, okay, I'm still going through this process. There is still stuff I've got to do. But when I kind of tripped over it in a few instances, the first experience I had, and the most recent experience I had of it, there was only one moment of infatuation that I think came directly out of dating as such. But the other two came from meeting people in groups that I was part of, and suddenly just feeling that spark with them, and then trying to explore it further and thinking, oh, holy shit, I'm in love again. This is and again, the back of the mind was going, well, really, it's only been X amount of months since. And then another part goes, well, if it happens, it happens. You can't control life. You can't, say when it's going to happen, when it's not going to happen. Let's go with it. And then, eventually it was like, all right. Now I'm I'm seeing now I'm, after bitter experience, first time the lady dumped me. And fair enough, I was getting a bit clingy. Second and third times, I dumped the lady in question because I started realizing what I was doing. And it's, oh, hang on a second, Rob, you're getting clingy again. You're feeling these things, and you're thinking the same sort of stuff. This is not okay. This is whatever this is. It's not. It might not be love, and I would rather not. After dropping the bloody L-bomb. I was the first one to do it each time, I will say. So in all fairness there, I started, I recognized my, again, these wonderful dry terms. I recognized my emotional state. I analyzed my, but there doesn't seem to be a better
Kudos.
phrase. Yeah.
That's difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah, it just sort of like all of a sudden the light bulb kind of went on, and I had that separation from what I was feeling in some sort of mental state that went, okay, let's take this out and just prod it for a second. Okay, I've been here before. It took me, it's now taking me less time to get to this point where I'm going, okay, here's what's going on. So no, let's call this off, because this is not a healthy start to something.
And oxytocin talking, yeah.
The what
So
talking?
Rob,
The oxytocin.
Or the oxytocin.
Well, the oxytocin. But she's so
happy
cute,
hormone.
so nice, and she's gorgeous, and definitely the oxytocin talking.
Gosh, Rob,
So,
I've never had that kind of feeling before.
Oh,
The only thing that goes in my brain is like, God damn, she's hot, man.
I think everyone's had one of those
I don't
moments.
know. I get really affectionate. I get really cuddly, and my compliment game and my gallant streak comes out, and
Can't run.
Yeah. I've even got a couple of mates who I'll let know that I was coming on, and I'm getting a little bit of stuff back for in PMs. It's like I sort of say feel free to comment on the video if you want to. We need some audience members. There's nothing in the comments stream at the moment. We've been going for where's
We
the
just need
audience?
some more interesting stories.
The audience is here, but they just don't want to engage at the moment. But carry on.
Is it my turn to whip something up?
Yeah, but no, I've been glad in a way. It's been quite fun because there've been people who in a kind of an inversion. There have people who I've met and who we've done a better job of setting limits and talking about things with, who've actually wound up being some bloody good mates. And I've kind of really valued their input. So, okay, everyone's I'm now having people coming back and saying I can't see a way of commenting. There should be, I think either if you're looking at it, I'm just trying to look at the video myself, and now I'm getting the ruddy fit. But yeah, you should be able to.
Wait, are people not able to comment?
I don't know. It's not showing up in the comments feed, but there's at least one comment on your post on your Facebook page, Jono. So, yeah, I don't know.
On my Facebook page?
Yeah, I wanted to say something on that one. It's actually because I think there's a difference. I can, in a personal level, forget about the professional aspect of it. I can relate to it. The reason is that it's not a comparison to how many years that you've been married, but my ex-husband, was my first relationship, really. I didn't have any relationship, like proper, like what it means, like commitment, L word, and that kind of thing. And what happens is so many people think that, no disrespect to anyone, but a lot of people think that when you're in a long-term relationship or even live together, it's the same thing as being married. It's not. It's not. When you're married, when you exchange vows, when you're in the same house, the commitment, everything else is very, very different. There's a psychological aspect of it. And when you're committed, obviously, like when you're in a marriage, the energy is like, it's very different. So because you yourself, you don't need to worry about anything, and you become, if you want, that be very affectionate. You just 100% yourself in so many aspects of it. Not for every marriage, but most of them anyway. So you're being yourself and you're sharing your life with that person. So when that, like for me, my experience that when my marriage ended, I was thinking like when I started to date, I was really confused as well, but I was treating every guy I was dating like I would treat my ex-husband, with that commitment, with that honesty, with that, everything else. And it was, I don't know if you ever watched it or read the book, Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert. It's an amazing, amazing book. It's an amazing movie as well. So basically, it's all about that, how he split up with her ex-husband. And one description she had in that book, and I thought that is identical. Like that explains when somebody actually divorced and after goes back to dating scene. She was like, on the circuses, on this big thing that, you see this acrobats and they jump from the pot, it's a very tiny pot, like from there to there, they're trying to squeeze it. It gets really confusing. That's how it's like when you're trying to do that, because it's almost like you feel like you hit your head and you come up from something that your heart is open, like you're being yourself, you're honest, no games, no nothing, there's a commitment already. And then you think the outside world, almost like outside world, is identical, and then you start to treat people you're dating with the same honesty and the same openness and same commitment if you would treat your wife or your husband. Does that make sense? Can you relate to that? Because it sounds like it's
Some.
That's why when you said
Yes.
that, you said L word and you know, you got clingy. I think it's not like you being clingy. I think for you probably that was almost a committed relationship. So you probably to act like, I'm not saying that you replace her with your ex-wife. I'm not saying that clearly, but you probably start to feel almost in the same level of commitment and honesty and the feelings for that person. And I don't think you were being clingy. I think you act the same way you would act in your marriage, which came across like a clingy, because in the dating context, it is clingy. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And I think it's easy for me to say I never dated, but I think even if I had, being out of practice and being in practice of being part of a marriage for 15 years, I'd probably, I would have had a whole bunch of habits and emotional expectations that I wasn't even aware of. So it is an experience to kind of and I guess there's all that idea of not being too hard on myself about the whole thing as well.
That's why I have to say you don't I don't want to say you shouldn't. You can do whatever you do. So I'm not being disrespectful, but it's in that aspect that I think that's what I want to share with you, because it's very different that if your first relationship is become a marriage and it was like 15 years, you will have the same energy, you will have the same behavior when it comes to dating. Then you realize and you're thinking, oh shit, this is a very different world. Like, I don't know this person. Like, this is a stranger. Oh, I see. So then actually people date with the different people. Okay, so then there's a different levels of dating. There's a different levels of commitment. There's different levels of this and that. And you go like, oh, maybe I'm not clingy. Maybe actually I'm normal. Maybe these people just made this relationship thing, dating thing is way too complicated. So that's the other thing, because it shouldn't be that complicated. Right now, there's so many things. Oh, this is a date. Oh, you can date, like so many people. Oh, and then you become exclusive. And from that exclusive, and then you become commitment. And then there's a commitment, this relationship. Like, it's not like that. You're either in the relationship or you're not. You're either, dating with somebody or in a relationship. So I think that's why don't be harsh on yourself. It's like this dating scene has just become so complicated because the more choices people have, the less commitment it requires. People just can't, I don't even say people, like everyone, some people do, but most people can't even bother to become commitment because it's so much easier to go like, oh, why would I bother with her? Let me go left to right, even when she's in the next door. So I think the reason I'm sharing it with you, it's not you. It's not like you need to change. It's not, nothing is wrong with you. Like everything you do, actually, if we were a bit like that, all of us, probably dating and relationship would be less complicated. That's what I'm trying to say. Like when people split up and say it's not you, it's me, I'm just saying it's not you. It really isn't. Like in any form, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a very interesting world that we're living at the moment when it comes to the dating. We're going to take time for you to adjust, but it sounds like you're doing it anyway. So I don't like where I'm at. You don't need to like break up with people because you feel like you're clingy. I think you just want to, you probably just wanted something solid. So, on that context. At least that's what I think. Like.
Well, I think the two I wound up breaking up with. I hate telling their, there's always part of me that's cautious about telling the story. Oh, we've got a comment. Jefferson Figueroa Camacho. He's sorry, mate. You missed some epic stuff. It's got to be there from the start. I always feel a little bit hesitant, sort of like telling my story because I'm telling theirs as well. So at least I'll try and keep names out of it. But I think in both cases, it seemed like they were
Just
keen.
put like Jane Doe.
Yeah. Yeah. They sort of, the first one sort of said, look, if Tindering, let's just keep it as friends. But if you want something more, then I want, a commitment out of this. So, and at the time I thought, oh, this is a very special woman. And she was. And I thought, what the heck, let's give this a go. And then, there was one point, I think we were out at a lunch and she, asked me about being committed. I said, yeah. And the back of my mind went, no, you're not, Rob. You are not, you're not, this feels great. She's letting you hold her close, everything, but you're not ready for a capital C commitment. So yeah, we wound up breaking it up. Oh God. Sorry, I'm just getting bloody comments. Oh, you can a couple of the women who I'm getting on with well and go, oh, you can talk about me. It's okay, fine.
It's okay. My ex isn't here. I can trash talk him all I want. It's fine.
What's that about your ex, Kirstie?
I mean, I was gonna say I can completely understand where Rob's coming from because I literally went through the exact same thing. I wasn't with someone for nearly as long as you were or have been, but I did exactly the same thing as you. I literally started dating someone at like 15 or 16, like first ever relationship, first boyfriend. It was like love at first sight. We dated for like 5 years. We definitely drifted apart because we were obviously young, and that's what happens when you're young. You just turn into very different people. So I was like choking on my monster then. And then I eventually broke it off because you kind of realize it wasn't really a relationship at that time. It was, but then I didn't really know how to be on my own because for pretty much most of my teenage years, I was in a relationship and I just bounced from person to person, and it was messy. I was being really emotional with everyone and clingy, I guess, as you would say, but it wasn't really clingy. It was just, that's what I knew. And I probably broke a few people's hearts, honestly, because I was jumping into feelings I was not ready for. And it was really unfair to the guys I was with, but eventually it got to the point, it took me a good ages. I think it was like 19 when I started doing it, and I was probably like 23 or 24 when I eventually was like, okay, I need to stop doing this, because I would jump in the deep end, realize, like, panic because I'm not really that emotional kind of person with people. We had this whole talk with Delara, and then I was be like, nope, and then I'd shove them back away and basically just end the relationship, and then I'd rinse and repeat with the next person. And I mean, it can take quite a while to actually realize that you kind of need to take a step back and figure things out. And I mean, I've been technically single for ages now, because I kept, as soon as it was really messy. But yeah, I mean, eventually I got to this point where I'm happy with who I am now. So I'm getting there, getting coaching from Jono. So, but I'm getting to that point where, like, I'm happy with who I am and what I want if I do look for future relationships. But I can completely understand where you were coming from. It's like I would speak to a guy and in like 2 weeks I'd be like, oh my God, yes, he's perfect. And it was really bad, and really unhealthy. But like I can totally see where you're coming from. And it can take a little while to get out of that mindset if that's what you're used to, in terms of like just being all 100% up. So
yeah, it's interesting because I'm kind of I'm still getting people saying that they can't comment on the chat for whatever reason. Someone even sent a screenshot through saying that it's saying you cannot comment on the video at this time. And Christopher Burns' comment from 7:30 only just came through, at least in the StreamYards feed anyway. But look, I don't want to, it's tough. I want to help my friends out, but I don't want to turn this into a tech support chat. You know what I mean? This is love and relationships. But yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, there's this bit of me that is that at least for the time being is given up the dating game, and is kind of going, all right, stuff it. Let's concentrate on maybe just joining some groups where there's common interest and hanging out and having a good time and keeping in touch with the people who I genuinely give a stuff about. And yeah, I've wound up meeting some very interesting folk as a result. And there's even there's a again a dry word, a situation. There's someone at the moment who I'm actually going, all right, there might be something here. Let's not rush. I'm actually in a circumstance where I know I want to leave things alone relationship-wise for at least a year, and the person in question is in a similar situation. And part of it's just, okay, well, you know what? Let's not rush it. Let's just enjoy each other's company. And maybe things will, maybe things won't. And in the meantime, yeah, I'm just carrying on with life and keeping up with my day job and trying to enjoy people's company. So, yeah, it feels like I'm finally achieving some sort of sanity when it comes to dating and relationships. But yeah, we'll see.
It can be a hard change when it's not what you're used to.
Especially when you've got all the wonderful oxytocin, you know. I think with my first the one who broke up with me, I started, and again, this is probably an indication of that pattern that I was in, you know, kind of thinking about the happy ending, and, you know, us being able to make a relationship at some point, even though I knew that was a way down the track. But it was the fact that I was thinking about it, and to a certain extent talking about it, that in the end freaked her out enough that she wound up saying, okay, Rob, no, I've got some stuff that I have to sort out in my life. I can't be what you need from me. And yeah, and at the time it kind of felt, okay, right. Yeah, I was, yeah, I see what she means. But yeah, and I thought I'd had a wake-up call, but I think I just needed a few more tries at it to really wake up to it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, no, thank you, Delara. It's if nothing else, it usually just comes down to confidence and trusting that you're okay where you are. It's usually the opposite that pushes you toward trying to find a relationship, or, you know, mistake the gooey mushy feelies for the genuine article.
I have to say it anyway, but just make sure that you don't close your heart and try to protect yourself, because honestly, like, that love that you feel, that you know, that genuine attitude that you have, it's so beautiful. And it's, for me, that it's precious in a way that I wouldn't want anyone, you know, like you or anyone else to lose that, you know, because so what I'm trying to say, that I think it just go with what it feels true to you. But honestly, like, from this space, don't think that, you know, to be that loving, that caring, that want to be, you know, want to committed, it means it's being needy, or it means that it's something wrong. It's honestly, it's so beautiful. If people were like you, hey, I like you, I want to be with you, I want to commit to you, are you in? Well, like, I wouldn't have any job, like, I wouldn't have any business, I would have all these YouTube videos, all these TikTokers, all these blogs, and millions of them. What did she mean to do? What did he mean? Oh, he said that. What does that mean? He said that. Like, what's that mean? This is too complicated. It shouldn't be this way. You know, like, humans making things so complicated. So what I'm trying to say, what you have is actually, it's wonderful. So just maybe, like what you're doing at the moment, differentiate that what's oxytocin, what's actually you're really feeling. So maybe, like, if you get to the place that probably, I wouldn't want someone like you that join the other people that, you know, just, oh no, I'm not going to do that, like this, no, it's like that. It's just too many strategy, so many bullshit. Just, I like you, you like me, you want in, you want to be together, yeah, I want to be together, this is it, this is who I am, this is who you are, let's do this. It shouldn't be that complicated. So again, wrong with you, Rob. You don't need to change. Maybe just more, if you wish, that take a little bit of time for yourself. Differentiate, like I said, that high level of oxytocin, than real feelings. But apart from that, I think it's just wonderful that for someone like you. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not being cheesy, but there's so many women would love to be with a man like you, like so honest, so sincere.
You got this, Rob.
Oh God, I have to.
Let's hashtag pimp Rob out.
Yeah. Any ladies in chat interested?
Oh God.
Because so many shady people, like trying to, like, they don't even know what they want, and then they can't even be honest with themselves, like what they want, what they don't want. But you do. It's what?
I was like, oh, it's just describing me there.
I think like you did your bit, and you took responsibility of it anyway. So it's,
it's to do with where you are in your life as well. Like some people are just ready for, you know, what Rob is, and then some people aren't. So there's plenty of women that are, though. You'll find them.
Yeah.
Indeed. No, I have to. One of the folks who was just messaging me saying, "Oh yeah, look, feel free to mention," but I was actually at a get together. Who my friend was also at the same time, and she's recently fallen madly in love with this awesome dude. I mean, really, he's great. He's they're moving in together. He is a former restaurant chef, so he cooks like the blazes. I've hung out with him several times, and it's like I'm just sitting there going, God, I hate you too. I really do. I despise the both of you. Yeah, just
they're too in love. I've got a couple of friends like that. They're just so in love. It's almost frustrating.
They actually wound up coming along to this get together in town at one point that I was at, and afterwards, you know, I'd just been sort of like chatting with people, getting to know folks, all that kind of thing, and let's face it, I'm a red-blooded cis het male, so you know I was paying, you know, so you know looking at the women, so you know saying, okay, is there anyone I can go up and introduce myself to and chat with, all that kind of thing, and afterwards, my friend just sort of like sent me a message. You know, we were talking about it, and you know it'd been a good time or whatever, and she said, "Look, Rob," and I think it was about the time when I was getting in with the woman who the second woman I wound up breaking up with, and my friend was kind of like, you know, when I was talking about this woman saying, "Yeah, Rob, it's a bit too soon," is the thing, you know, you need to be spreading your wings a little bit more. And she actually brought up that meeting and said, Rob, I was sitting there, you know, I'm trained in mental health. There are about 3 or 4 women there hanging off your every word. And I went, really? I don't know.
Rob's getting in there.
Wow. You know,
got ladies swooning after you.
Apparently so. Just call me Captain Clueless.
I feel like that's most guys though. Like if you're not direct,
pretty much. No,
you gotta be direct. If you
had this discussion.
Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, basically, when it comes down
clueless, when it comes to getting that hint.
No, really, it's like, yeah, when it comes down to it, women, you don't need, you know, you don't need flirtiness. You don't need signals. Really, what you need is one of these. And just, yeah.
Wait, what?
Just like, okay, bang, they're back home with me. Then they will get the idea.
So we're cave women.
Oh, right. You're keen on me. Oh,
like
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Who have we got in the comments? Latino is here. I remember Latino from Among Us.
Yeah, he's a cruel killer.
Yes.
Hey Kim. Wait, you're the imposter here, Kirstie. That was marinating me and killing me.
Yeah. Pink's looking a bit sus. Pink's a bit sus.
Yeah.
I think
Always.
Relationships, guys. Don't talk about my imposterness.
Anyway, back on topic.
Who wants to go next?
We were talking about comments. I don't think there's.
Well, they keep
Kim says
saying
hi.
comments, but there's no comments. So I'm going to go with the questions that's been sent in.
Ooh.
Do you think porn use can have an effect on our sense of masculinity or impact our healthy sexually?
Yes.
Mm.
Because the
That was a
amount of
quick
time.
response.
Yes. Because a lot of guys seem to forget that sex, like porn in a lot of cases, is scripted, that when they try to sleep with you, they have this idea in their head of like what is expected of you, because they've seen like some funky porn video, and I'm there just like, I haven't had pain medication. That you're not sticking that where I think you're trying to stick it. That's not how it works in real life. Like, you need to understand these things. Or like they just try to do these weird role plays of like they try to like just bend you over when you're cooking, and I'm like, no, stop trying to expect this weird infection. Like, if you want to do that kind of stuff, you got to tell me. But it doesn't just happen like in porn. You don't just like grab a chick and bend her over a bench and it all just kicks off from there. It really annoys me when guys expect these things from you, and I'm just like, at least tell me first. You know, like there's communication involved in real life. That's my part. Just stop sticking it where you think it can fit, because there's a lot of stuff that happens before the videos, okay? That it fits. Just all I'm saying. Like, you know, there's a lot of prep that I don't think is shown in porn, and the guys get unrealistic expectations. That's all I'm saying. That's my part. So.
Well answered. Well answered.
Kirstie gets an award for that speech.
Yeah, well answered. That's a very good answer.
Thank you.
I always tend to think of it this way: porn is to real sex what an action movie fight scene is to a real fight.
Yeah,
like you say, it's very scripted, it's rehearsed, it looks great on camera, and really that's the point. It looks great.
There's a lot of
for
prep.
the watcher. Yeah,
a lot of prep.
There is, I think, one of the researchers is also shows that I think it's like porn addiction is quite linked to insecurities as well. So actually, it can create a lot of insecurities on men. You know, not necessarily like what you're trying, what they would want to do, like with women. But a lot of men that actually do struggle with porn addiction, which it actually does impact their performance and so many other aspects of it as well. In some cases, I think it's like, it is true. Some people suggest that it actually contributes to toxic masculinity as well. Could cause some aggression in the same time. So, somebody says porn is boring when you have the lyrics.
Not everyone gets that.
I think, you know, what we need to remember, like this, porn is not necessarily like it's about you have a partner or not. There's so many guys actually have a absolutely gorgeous
addiction,
you know, like happy to have sex with their partner at any time, but they still, have an addiction to porn.
Yeah,
really does makes a huge impact on guys. So I think like everything else, like porn could add some spice, and I think that, you know, human beings be curious anyway, so there's no harm in that. But if it is too much, yes, I mean, a lot of researchers show that, and porn addiction is actually a real thing. So hopefully that would answer it as well, Jono.
Cool.
I think the self-consciousness goes both ways as well. There's a lot of women that I know that feel like they're not good enough in bed because they can't do all the stuff that like the women can do in porn and stuff as well. And I was like, because I've had some of my friends be like, oh, I think I'm so bad in bed and stuff because they're not like deep throating, they're, you know, bits down there, like they gag, or they're like, oh, I can't ride, and they just sort of get really self-conscious about some aspects of sex because it looks so good in the porn, and then they feel like they're going to let their partners down in real life as well. I've had some women complain about that too. So it just makes everyone feel bad.
Yeah, on the flip side of it, in some cultures that, like they actually don't want to have that kind of sex, like the porn sex with their wife, because they see their wife as mother of their children. And nowhere on earth like they would actually do those, if you like, positions or anything like that with their wife.
It reminds me, if you guys have seen it, Robert De Niro, Billy Crystal movie, Analyze This.
Yeah.
When he's actually at one point, when Robert De Niro, the mobster, crashes the holiday of his psychiatrist, and like takes him to the hotel bar so he can get another consulting session. So like talks about his wife and his mistress, and he says, Billy sort of says something like, "What do you mean? What do you need a mistress for?" And he sort of like Robert De Niro looks at him and says, "What are you talking about? My wife kisses my kids goodnight with that mouth."
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, it's like,
oh my goodness.
It is actually true.
Yeah.
It's actually true. Like for someone that it's actually it's no goes on with their wife. So
yeah.
I feel bad for the wives.
Yeah.
It depends.
And
Like,
for the
it depends on the
husbands,
culture.
They
Yeah.
think that it's that they think that downstairs is so dirty that that you're polluting your wife's mouth by letting her do that. It's come on, guys, really.
it's about It's about
It's just-
culture, guys. So
Yeah.
some cultures, like, especially if it's quite religion, it's like, for example, Muslim, like quite strict Muslims. I don't think that they actually do anything like that. So it's just culture is a massive factor.
Yeah. Depends where you're from. In the UK, we don't really. It's not so bad here. We're very sexual in a lot of places. But I can understand
the
in
UK
other
would
countries.
be one of the. I mean, what was that phrase that got coined once? No sex, please. We're British.
I mean,
What?
I think there's even a play
highest
called
teenage
that.
pregnancy.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, that
yeah,
answers that then.
that was quite a long chat on porn, wasn't it?
Okay, how about this one? Criticism for your partner and social norms.
Is that a question or?
Yeah, there wasn't much context in this one.
What does it mean, social norms? I wonder what's the.
I guess women being more feminine and men being more masculine, maybe?
Probably criticism against your partner when you're in the social setting with friends and family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
the question is about when you're putting your partner down in front of your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, that kind of.
I feel like you should never be putting your partner down, sort of end off, really.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of criticism that you have.
Yeah, or at least, if nothing else, then just do it with a therapist, so at least they can say, okay, here's what you need to look at with your thinking. But yeah, no.
I don't think you should ever
yeah.
really be putting your partner down. There's like
This
constructive criticism.
This happens very often in Asian cultures.
I'm not really.
Nodding his
I
head.
don't really know much about that. Sorry.
yeah.
I don't really know much about that.
Bro, you haven't spoken. Why don't you just?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm just missing the popcorn now.
Yeah,
exactly. Kirstie knows me. I'm just missing popcorn now. I'm just like, keep going.
The audio. I'm gonna get yourself a bit. Come back there. Carry on, guys.
It's interesting how different the cultures are. Because, like, to me, if a guy tried putting me down, I mean, I'd put him in his place. He'd get a slap in the face. But then, like, if a guy ever, like, for example, if a guy ever tried telling me why I couldn't wear, I mean, he's sleeping on the couch for starters, and he's getting smacked somewhere else. But obviously, it's probably quite a lot different compared to you guys. So it's just, yeah. Like, I can't imagine if someone had the audacity of that. Jeez.
Yeah, but some
I don't want if they tried
I mean,
that.
it's,
you know, Kirstie, like in some cultures, that woman actually is almost like a second class anyway. You know, like,
Yeah, it's really when you don't come from that kind of culture, it's really difficult to sort of understand how it could work, so to speak. Like, I don't know if it makes me sound ignorant, but to me, it's just because this is the way I've grown up, and it's like you know, you don't take shit from people. Like, it's really difficult for me to see like how you could put your partner down and stuff like that. I'll be like, it'd be really difficult for me not to say something. Like, if I saw someone putting their partner down, it'd be really difficult for me not to say something. And like, that would probably go against some people's cultures, but it's you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's really hard to, it's kind of difficult, but
so it's about respect at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
It's I'll tell you guys a very, very funny story. Actually, is related. So there was one time I remember that my auntie and my uncle came over to visit my parents. It's my mum's younger brother, right? So they came over. They was chatting to my dad and my mum in the kitchen. My mum was doing something by the sink, washing something, and my dad was just sitting on a dinner table with my aunties and uncle. And basically, they were talking about growing vegetables, because my auntie is very, very good at growing vegetables, and she's got herself a garden at her home, and you know, she would bring some vegetables over every time they finish, you know, when it's ripe. And I remember my dad said a joke. It's a joke, but in a very insulting way. So he said, "Yeah, you know, Ning is my auntie's name. So Ning, you're so good at growing vegetables, and like, look at your sister, she can't grow anything. Every time she grows something, it dies." And so my dad was basically cussing my mom in comparison to my auntie, right? And then my dad said, "See, if we were back in Vietnam, right? If we were back in Vietnam, like, if a woman can't grow any vegetables, her husband will leave her." Because it's a matter of survival. It was that bad. And my mum, in response, said, "Yes, that's right. And I'm still waiting for mine to leave."
Good on her. Ah, that's good. I like that. That's good. I like that one.
So yeah, it's a
Good
cultural thing. I mean, it's I can relate to it because my dad, you know, it's a very, I mean, it's I think, I don't know what it is. It's a cultural thing that men likes to criticize their wife a lot. No, well, what it is, it's not even the wife, it's the children as well. Because my dad used to compare me with a lot of my cousins, and their way of thinking is quite distorted. They thinking that if they compare you with someone who's doing well, it will motivate you to do better, like a competition. It will raise your competition spirit. But that never works. I'm telling you guys.
To be fair,
works.
my dad was very much like that as well.
Why can't you be more like?
Yeah,
No,
like,
it
they
just makes
think
you
the
more
more they
down to
put
press.
the more they put you down, the better they think you're going to perform. It doesn't work.
No,
it gives you stupid ideas you can't get rid of.
Exactly.
Jono's just nodding his head like, I've heard all of this.
Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I had a lot of comparison during my time, and I was the only child, right? So
I was the middle child. I got it from both sides. Older sister's better than something.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Feeling the love, brother. I'm an only kid too.
It's just like, why can't you be like this? Why can't you be like that? Why can't you be like so and so's son? Look at how successful they are. Look at how successful, you know, all that stuff, and it's just like, fuck off.
or it's another one.
It's literally that. That was it. Like you said, right? It's supposed to motivate you, but at the end of the day, in the back of our heads, it's like, piss off. Like, get off my back.
Yeah.
It doesn't motivate us. It doesn't makes us want to step up. It makes us want to not bother at all.
Yes, it makes us more ashamed, and the things that we're ashamed of, we don't want to think about as much. So yeah.
Yeah, my dad was like that. I was like, he was very much a perfectionist. So it was like, everything I did was never like good enough. Every time like I did something, there was always he would always criticize it over anything else. Like if I got an A+, he'd be like, "Oh, well, you got this one wrong. Why did you get this one wrong?" And it just gives you these really horrible things of like, you literally grow up just not feeling good enough, you know, and messes people up, man.
Yeah.
Parents.
Well,
I
at
love
least we know what
Latino's
not
comment.
to do with our children, right?
Also, being a middle child is horrible. I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind being a single child.
Really?
I
My
hate being a middle
sister-
child. It's
Well,
horrendous.
It's the
my
downside
sister's
is
the only girl, and she's in
Ah.
the middle, and my sister is like, she's the favorite of the family. So I think it's different for everyone, you know.
I hate it because it was
It's-
like they kind of gave up on my older sister, not in like that way, but like everything they feel like they did wrong with my older sibling, they then tried to improve with me. So they were really, really strict with me. But then my little sister got away with everything because she was the youngest. So it was like my older sister got to do what she wanted. I couldn't leave the house without doing like every chore in the place. My little sister got to do what she wanted, but then I was still like not good enough anyway. And it was just, hated it. Couldn't win. Being a middle child's horrendous.
I will say, be careful what you wish for, because when you're the only kid, there's no one else to distract your parents' attention from you. It's all on you. So,
yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah,
There's no running away from any responsibilities.
There's a lot of sibling rivalry in my family.
There's
as
no running
kids,
away
yeah.
from any responsibilities when you're the only child. Like everything
Too
falls on
much,
you.
no. Yeah. And I remember back in the UK, I must have been about 7 or 8 when I told the kid of a family friend that I loved her, and I think I can't remember how exactly went. I think it kind of got people's attention, and I said something along the lines of, "Well, I need to find somebody, or else the Farquhar line, as it were, ends with me." How the hell I processed that by that age, I don't know. But I remember, and it's kind of like, one of the points of tension between me and Vicky and my dad was the fact that basically me marrying this older woman meant that he wasn't going to get any grandkids. And he's, as far as I'm concerned, he probably never was anyway, because I've never been, being a dad has never been in my personal life's map. I'm just kind of right at the moment. I'm kind of happy being granddad Rob to Carl's 4 boys. But it's interesting, you know, how you absorb these expectations and process them in ways at times.
Have you ever thought about that? You might actually want your own children one day, Rob.
This is getting deep.
Sort of a no, if you know what I mean. People will ask, and I'll just go. It's that God, it's the question that gets asked of everybody who is childless.
Oh my God.
And it's like I'm not at the point where I'm like, oh, for God's sake, fuck off, just go. Really, I'm getting sick of this bullshit. I might change my mind about a lot of things. I might change my mind about going into business for myself. I might change my mind about, I don't know. Can I change my mind about my sexuality? I'm not sure. I don't think I can. But I just, it's sort of like, and everyone kind of said, but it's kids where they say, what if you might change your mind in the future? You know?
Oh my God. Time.
Unless, I mean, look, I understand. Hell, I was with my financial planner a couple of days ago, and he was actually telling me about this woman who one day woke up deaf in her left ear, basically because there had been overnight a change in her neurology, which had, no one knew what caused it. No one had a cure for it. That basically shut the nerve off. And I remember hearing, in a talk about mental health, there's a politician out here who was one of our heads of the 7 or so states that we have out here for a little while, and who's kind of gone into the mental health and the men's health space, and basically sort of said, you know, you never know what can happen in the next day. You can go to bed one night fine and quite literally wake up the next morning with a mental condition. So who knows who I'm going to be in a day, a week, a year, 2 years time. And that's one of the interesting things about this place where I am. And I feel like, you know, there are, as much as I need to start from a place of saying I'm good where I am, I think there are a few things I need to change about my confidence and my assertiveness. But this idea that you don't know what is going on in the grey matter in your skull, I might wake up tomorrow and go, holy shit, I must breed. I need children. I must continue the species.
Reproduction needs to occur.
Yes. I must
Seeds must be planted.
Yes. I must give birth to my 2.3 children for whom yes.
You.
So
the woman's
I
got
don't
the job then.
All I can say is no. The person who I am does not need to be a dad or to have kids, and that might change. If it does, I have no idea how. But all I can be is who I am. You know what I mean? And that's one of the like I said, there might be many things about myself that I would like to change, and that I think in some cases I might need to change. That's not one of them. And I have no idea how I'd be able to tell myself, okay, how do I go from me into a person who wants to be a dad and who wants kids? And I don't know.
I think there are certain things that you don't like. I'm the same. Like, I never wanted to be a mom. I love kids, but I never wanted to give birth to one. And you know, like I think like people make such a big deal out of it because they have a therapy. They do all sorts of healing for past life, future lives, and they said like it's trauma stuff. I've done all of it. I still don't want kids. I love kids.
Yeah, it really annoys me as well. Like the expectations that you have. Like I get it. I'm not even that old. Like when in the grand scheme of things, but the amount of people that have like tried to pressure me into changing my mind about kids is so frustrating. Anytime anyone like of older, whether it's like older family or friends or whatever, you mention about kids and like, oh, you'll change your mind. I'm like, well, no, I won't. As the past like decade, I've not wanted kids, and I don't think I'll ever want kids. Like, yeah, but you'll change your mind. You know, you don't know what it's like to have kids. They're the best thing ever. And they're like, and it really annoys me when you get it's a lot of the times men more than women. I don't know why, but they'll be like, you're supposed to have children because you're a woman, and like, you know, it's every woman's goal to be a mother and stuff like this. I'm there thinking, fuck off, mate. What? I'm like, you carry it for 9 months and push a melon out of your dick, and we'll see how well you can. No, sorry. It just really annoys me that there's like this pressure for women to settle down and have kids, and your biological clock is ticking. And I'm like, good, because then you can get off my back when it's ticked. Like, it just really annoys me, the pressure that women have. It's like so many people just expect you to have children, and like your life isn't complete without popping out some babies. And I'm like, no, I'm perfectly fine. My sister's got kids. My other sister's probably going to have kids. You know, I'll be the cool auntie, but I don't want to have children. It's just, it's so infuriating at like this weird societal demand of like, it's like you're wrong if you don't want kids. And everyone's like, they go out of their way to try and change your mind. And then you get guilt tripped by people saying, you should be grateful you can have kids. So many people can't have kids. And, you know, as if it's my fault. And I'm there like, well, just because I can have children doesn't mean that like I need to have children because you can't have kids. Like, I mean, if I could give you my uterus feel free, but I can't, so I won't. You know what I mean? It just, the guilting that is so frustrating at times. And I'm there like, I'm not even out of my 20s. Like, get off my case. Like, let me live my life.
I've had a friend of mine who actually just sent me a message saying, oh my God, I've had the exact opposite with kids. Like everyone has said, nah, don't do it. And this is a woman who's in her late 20s. So, yeah. So at least there's that. There is some pushback in the opposite direction, thank God. But yeah.
Any friends like that?
I mean, how how nice would that be? Like, who wants to have kids and they have kids, and we don't get involved. People do, and then people who don't want to have kids, they don't have kids, and then we don't bully people and we don't abuse people and for their choices and what they want in their life, and especially when it comes to the children.
Just respect people's choices, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I
think the older generation have just lost respect for other people.
Yeah, it is a lot of the older generations are the ones that try to try to change your mind on things. They're like, oh, when I was your age, I had a house and I was married and I was with children. And I'm like, good for you. I'm still getting drunk on the weekends. So, have fun with that.
No, I feel if there's any people I feel sorry for, and I know a couple of people in this boat, are the poor folks who are childless not by choice, who would absolutely love, and the only people I've been really aware of on this front are women who would absolutely love to bear a child someday, who for reasons of biology or just pure happenstance, it's just never happened for. And, particularly the ones who, are in a rough biological boat, quite possibly may not ever happen for. The people who would really love to bear a child, and, and sometimes, you can pat yourself on the back and say, oh, well, they should just adopt. And it's like, there's the easy answer. And I can, to a certain extent, I can understand that. But I can also, as a pure outsider, of course, but having seen people go through that process, I've got one person who's on my Facebook page who regularly posts pictures of her baby bump. And, as much as she's keen to have this kid come into the world and get to know it, it seems like the period of pregnancy is also this time of wonder and joy for her. And it's like, okay, I may never understand it myself, but that doesn't mean that there's not something there for me to potentially understand, so yeah. I sit there and kind of like I wonder now, thinking about it, what it must sort of be like for those women who sit there and see all these photos of people finding joy in the pregnancy process and basically knowing that as much as they would love to experience that themselves and find that bond of love with the child who they've given birth to, that it just doesn't, life has gone, nah, not on the cards for you, love. Sorry, but them's the breaks. It's, I do not envy them. Sudden.
That got very deep, didn't it?
It did.
Back onto the question. How would you deal with criticism?
A slap to the face.
For your partner.
That's how I would deal. There's constructive criticism and then there's just downright being nasty.
Well, Latino just said, did Kirstie just admit to physical abuse?
Yes, I did, and I'll do it again. Know your place. The guy I dated for 5 years used to call me dumbass, and every time he did, he got a smack, and he stopped that pretty quickly.
Oh, well deserved. Well played.
Because he called me dumbass twice, and it didn't last long after that. I was like, you fucking...
Bravo.
Boom! I was like, say it again.
Wow. You go, girl. You go.
Oh, it infuriated me at the time. Anytime someone says that to me now, I'm just there like... I don't know why. Yeah.
I love Latino's comment on that point about parents giving you criticism, comparing you to other people. How I used to hear that till I responded with, "Look at Auntie XY, she's doing well for herself. How about you, Mum and Dad?"
And you didn't get a smack for that?
Nice. He probably did, but I don't know. Maybe
it's probably worth it.
Maybe they still, yeah. No, there's the usual, don't talk to your parents like that. Well, it's you're talking to me like that, for God's sakes.
Like when they demand respect, but they don't give you respect. I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's why.
Yeah.
We talked about that, didn't we, last week? A little. I'm sure there was. I think we talked about it, and you guys talked about it. I remember being on. That's right, I was on chat for that. But Yeah. No, for some odd reason, this made me think of something. Back in the day, Vicky always used to say one of the worst things that ever happened was all of a sudden we're kind of getting into kids here a little bit rather than strictly love and relationships. But one of the worst things that she reckoned ever happened when it came to child rearing was the United Nations conventions on the rights of the child. Because apparently what happened is that one day at school, they had an assembly and the teachers basically read out, the rights of a child, freedom from physical abuse, freedom to, the right to have a proper, all that kind of thing. As a result, kids would come back and say, oh, yeah, you can't hit me anymore, mum and dad, etc., because it's a human rights violation. And, part of me goes, well, in a way, never been a dad, never want to be, this is my perspective. It kind of, it kind of is. And then I kind of think, then I thought to myself, well, from one perspective, it does make some sense because all of a sudden, it seems like they went about it the wrong way. They kind of went to the kids and said, here are your rights, instead of going to, trying to get as many parents together as possible and saying, okay, the landscape has changed. All of the stuff that we used to think worked doesn't anymore. If you want to raise sane, healthy kids who are going to move into the future with, for want of a better word, positivity, but, with strong self-esteem and an ability to challenge the things that need to be challenged and live good, solid, happy lives, here's how we'll help you learn better how to raise them. It's like all of a sudden, all of the only tools that a lot of time parents had for raising kids were gone effectively, and no one told them what the hell else they were meant to do. I mean, I don't envy at times Carl and Jody, my stepson Carl and his wife and their 4 boys, because they go through no end of struggles, and there doesn't appear to be any kind of right answer for them. And they've got struggles, they've got work pressures, they've got social pressures, which mean that, as much as unless someone basically said, all right, here's 6 to 10 weeks paid leave, and we're going to send an expert in who is going to talk with you guys and talk with your kids and help you practice ways of sanely parenting your kids based on where they are, and we're going to give you a hand with any medications, whatever they might need. How the hell are they going to have a chance to learn how to be better parents? It's just, all they've got is the tools that they were given and no time to, you can say educate yourself. Where the heck are they going to get the time and the energy if they're exhausted from their jobs and then exhausted from 4 boys running wild all the time? And once again, I have created a zone of silence.
So...
Oh, boy. Shawnee B says, well, I could be a crack addict, but I spend slightly too long on my computer. You're welcome.
Well, I'm wondering what constructive criticism you could provide in terms of your language with your partner.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends. Like, I think a good example is if your partner stops looking after themselves, maybe health-wise or mentally or in some aspect. I think bringing that up with them is a very valid concern. Like, say your partner, I'm not don't get offended, anyone, but say your partner's like started gaining a lot of weight unhealthily. I'm not saying like you can't, I'm just saying in an unhealthy manner, like obsession with food, for example. I think bringing that up to them as a valid concern is perfectly fine. But there's a big difference between trying to help them improve than just being like, you're a fat ass, you know what I mean? Or like, because that's the difference people don't understand. They think if they humiliate their partner's going to change, but that's not how you do it. Like, it's just going to make them regress more because they're not going to try, because you've made them already feel shit about themselves. So why are they going to try and better themselves if they already hate themselves? And it's like a nasty cycle. So yeah, I can completely agree with like constructive criticism, but I think a lot of people forget that and just like dive straight into the criticism aspect of it.
Yeah, I think all you can really do is maybe say, what do you need a hand with? Yeah, because it might even be that sometimes the obvious, the obvious symptom like weight gain might be due to a non-obvious cause. It's like you say, oh, you need exercise, you need to lose the weight. Well, it might actually be, no, I'm goddamn stressed out because of these factors in my life. And you go, okay, well, what can I do to help carry that load for you? And as a result, that all of a sudden the weight starts coming off again. And I think, what was it? I keep remembering this thing, which was I read also at one point. If you ever feel like you're getting, if you need to discuss something that's bothering you, you say, I feel X when you do Y because Z. Because at least it's sort of like it's not saying you have a problem. It's saying this is my reaction when you do this, and this is the reason for that reaction. Can we talk about it? And at least it's starting from me, the person who is worried, rather than you, the person who is doing the thing that I'm worried about. And it might be that after a sit down conversation starting with that, the worry itself gets sorted rather than the behavior, but the other person's behavior. So I guess that's again, that's not something I've had too much practice with. So I think all you can really talk about is your favorite subject yourself, but just try and link it back to the other person, if that makes any sense.
Anyone else got any take?
Nick?
I was going to say Delara has good stuff to share about criticism.
I have no doubt. Here I am rabbiting on, and there's someone with training in the thing.
But me personally, I've learned to not give anyone any criticism unless they ask for it. No, I don't give any constructive criticism. I don't give feedback unless people ask me for feedback. I've just learned to mind my own business these days, and it's just so much, it just gives me so much inner peace.
Now, just to check it, because we've only just met, I'm not familiar with the circumstances. Have you got somebody in your life?
What, me? Right now?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there you go. You've got nobody to criticize, so it's easy. It's easy
for
you.
I criticize myself.
No, but I mean, like in general, I don't criticize people anyway. Like the most, like after being an uncle, I've learned to see. I see my nephews do stuff, right, and they're just in the learning phase. So, if I want them to improve, I'll just say, "Oh, let's try that again. Let's do that again," and I'll make it fun for them when they're learning. So I never criticize them, and for other people in general, I like I said, I don't give any kind of feedback, criticisms, or whatever unless they ask for it. Literally, they have to literally ask for it. But no, but Delara, I'm sure she's got a lot to share with us about constructive criticism.
I think the context this question is that it's for a couple who are in a relationship. So I think the scenario that I can create probably, like, at least that's what it sounds like. Jono, correct me if I'm wrong to hearing this, but it's basically in a public place, like with other people. So it would be a perfect scenario. It might not be like such an aggressive criticism, but for example, let's say you're with somebody and then there's a group that you're out and then they said something, but they didn't mean it, or they didn't realize what they said, and they didn't actually read the body language from other people maybe on the table. So then, for me at least, like when you get home, you can say to your partner, like, I just want to share something with you, and then I always say that the best way to give feedback, not necessarily criticism, but like constructive criticism or feedback, is the best way to make other person safe first, and acknowledge the things that person does great. On this case, it might not be, well, it could be like, we had a great time tonight, like it was really good and whatever, blah blah blah, and then say something like, not sure, for me at least, like it seems like you haven't noticed that, but when you said that, X actually like had this facial expression, so it might not be actually received the way you wanted to say it. So do you see, guys, what I'm trying to say? So you can give that feedback, but you can give it in your own space. First of all, not attacking to that person. It's almost giving them awareness of something. For example, they could share something that they might not, your partner might not think that is a big deal, or they might think that that's a sensitive information. But then you can see it from the best of place, with best of intentions. But of course, your partner should not resent you and keep holding on to it and not to say anything, because otherwise that the relationship starts to drift apart and people towards the way instead of towards turning each other. So then it could be like, I know you maybe thought that this wasn't a sensitive information. Maybe you thought that it wasn't, it didn't matter. I'm sure you said this with the best intention, but actually I want you to keep it in us. So if, for the future, maybe check in with me, or maybe I check in with you. Let's create an agreement or something to make sure that we're not actually sharing things about each other with other people and create uncomfortable situations. So for me, all it is, it's just positivity. How can we come together? How can we turn towards each other rather than away? Because anytime you say, I don't give a shit, like you said that, like it only just separates people. But just, think about the end goal. What's the end goal that you want this relationship and create happy and fulfilling relationship both sides? So it's important for you to share. But it's important to deliver what you're trying to say. And as always, I say that any kind of feedback, acknowledge that, how great, acknowledge the good things about that person, and then make that person feel safe so they don't feel attacked. And then just give it as a feedback, as just your thought, not like you should do this, you should not do this, not like that, but just give a thought and then allow them to process. And let them tell you, like, in return what they want to say. So that for me, the question, it wasn't more in that context. But John, if it wasn't, I just rumble along. Yeah.
I think it is something along that side. Is the criticism in the social setting. So I would say it's something similar.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was clearing my throat. That was the drink. I wasn't trying to get you to stop talking.
Oh.
No, it was my throat. I'm so sorry.
So the criticism is normally something that kills the partner's self-esteem, right? So how much do you do it in a social setting?
You don't do it.
Never do it. Just don't go there, mate.
I think it depends. I think it depends.
But it's not like you don't go there. We talked about it before, obviously, but it's really important to discuss and agree non-negotiables. And the things that it's not okay for to do in the relationship. So criticism each other in a public space or any other place, like apart from giving each other feedback, it should be in the category of non-negotiable, i.e. should not be done.
Yeah.
I actually, funnily enough, I've kind of got. Oh, sorry. You go ahead, Dela.
The last thing that would always be the best step, beginning of the relationship, kind of setting those boundaries, rather than doing things in the last minute. Sorry, Rob, that's all I want to say.
That is quite all right, because an example leapt to mind. Back when Vicky and I were in our early days, we'd moved in together. We hadn't quite married yet. We decided to join this book club at a Borders store, if anyone remembers those, which had opened near us. And it had been the first time we'd gone along. Basically Borders, Kirstie, was bloody heck. I know there's equivalents in the UK, a big chain bookstore that actually started in the US and was kind of novel, at least in Australia, because they usually combined the bookstore itself with couches and a cafe, so you could take a book off the shelves and sit and read. So it was like combination, part bookstore, part library, and people usually walk out with more books. And then the advent of ebooks and e-readers and all that kind of thing kind of generally torpedoed big chain bookstores all over the world. But we went along, and it was the first night, and we were kind of the group was going around, everyone there, and sort of talking about their favorite books. And I started talking about this book that I've been reading, although I've read ages ago, this book series, science fiction called The War Against the Kator, and how it, took this very interesting and realistic angle to an alien invasion by making it an invasion of biology rather than having aliens land and roll out war machines and conquest. It was like, an invasive ecosystem, effectively. And
That's
That sounds cool.
there are 4 books in the series. The author is named David Gerrold, and his other claim to fame is that he wrote the episode "The Trouble with Tribbles" for the original Star Trek episode. So he gave us those cute, fluffy, powder puff aliens. And yeah, I was kind of talking about how I found it sort of like intriguing, and perhaps this goes to the fact that I've always done a pretty good front of confidence. So, and I was like kind of terrified at the time when I was saying all this. And Vicky, was sitting next to me as I finished, said, "Yeah, right." And I shut down. I felt completely humiliated. So I don't really remember how the rest of the night went, but I remember after I left, I just said, "Look, darling, what you did in there when you just said, 'Yeah, right,' after that, please don't do it again." I felt like, you just shut me off, and she said, "What are you talking about? You look confident. It wasn't a big, it didn't seem like a big deal." Yeah, and I think looking back at it now, had I had more confidence, it probably would have been the kind of thing I would have worn and given her a quit back or something like that. But I wasn't, and I think that was something that kind of characterized Vicky's relationship and mine, is that she thought I was more confident than I actually ever really was. And
Okay.
it was, and she was a very.
Can I ask a question? Just
Sure.
to make it interesting and for me to understand as well. So she thought you were more confident than you are. Have you never felt like actually telling her that it's not the case?
I think at that time I did, and there were times when I sort of said, I would say, I struggle with self-worth. I don't really like myself all that much. And every time I would say it, she would seem shocked. She couldn't seem to. And this is a woman, I mean, she was an only kid herself. She, from what I understand, her relationship with her parents wasn't that great all the way through. I mean, she was born in 1942, for God's sake. So whether that gives you any indication of parenting standards necessarily, but she somehow kind of came to the conclusion earlier on, no one else is going to look out for me. I'm going to look out for me. She internalized this idea of her self-worth very quickly and wouldn't let it get broken down. For whatever reason, for a lot of my life, I was the kid who, in school reports would have got, doing well, could do better if he applied himself, all that kind of thing. I got good at flying under the radar, not fucking up particularly badly, but not really doing anything outstanding, because I just never felt like the way I see it is I never felt like I fit in anywhere. And I guess that's right at the moment, that is one of the things that I'm trying to do, is see if I can find my tribe. And I think it feels like I'm having some success. But yeah, it really, I've always had this struggle with feeling seen as for who I am rather than who people expect me to be. And, I guess that idea, especially when you're an only kid, when all of a sudden you've got all that expectation on you, and because you're the only one, your mum and dad don't just want all the best for you, but they have an idea of what the best for you looks like. And if the person you become, or the person you are, and also the person who the rest of the world outside their control shapes you into being, doesn't marry with that idea, then there's friction, and either you wind up with a rebel or someone who just is nice to everybody but doesn't stand out in a way. So yeah, all of a sudden, here we go. We're getting one hell of an insight into my psychology here.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna psychoanalyze you.
Yeah. it's this real thing. Like right at the moment, this stage of my life, it's like, okay, this is me. This is who I am. This is where I want to be going. What do I need to work on within myself so that I can start heading in that direction more? Having the courage to back my ambitions in a way. And it is at times tough going, because it means literally, instead of flying under the radar, projecting myself out into the world more and saying, this is me, this is who I am, I want this, and I'm willing to put the work in to get it. Let's start talking. It's a very scary thing at times.
Have you spoken to a coach that I know who can help you with these things? I'd be able to help you figuring out
a coach who. So are we pointing in a particular direction screen wise?
Wait. Have you heard of a coach in this vicinity?
Damn it! I'm pointing.
Just the FYI for everyone that's on here. Ik, Dilara, and I are coaches. Ik doesn't coach as much. He does more mentoring. He likes to give me the coaching stuff to do because he doesn't enjoy the coaching, but he likes the mentoring and teaching. Dilara is also a coach.
Hit these
So
guys
take
up
your
if you
pick.
need help.
Here we go. It's a promo session for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a thought. I know accessing valuable coaching does take money, which is one of those things that I'm working on at the moment. Right now, after having got some professional advice, I'm staring down $800 to get myself a proper will and enduring power of attorney drawn up. So, yeah, it's like, and I don't know, there is in part, and, maybe I'm wrong here, maybe that's where a coach would come in, but it's kind of like sometimes I've done a lot of asking people for advice and not much doing. And I've kind of learned that maybe what I need to do first is do a little bit more, hit the roadblocks, and then say, okay, I'm struggling with this. Now I need to ask for some help for it. It's like I'm getting back into painting miniatures at the moment. All those glorious little plastic computer figures that certain big franchises put out. And when I started getting into it, I started watching YouTube videos and all that kind of thing, the experienced painters, and getting some tips and tricks. And then I thought, okay, Rob, I'm sitting here watching videos. What am I not doing? I'm not painting miniatures. I need to be painting miniatures so I can actually apply this stuff and practice it, and then start looking at the finished product and going, okay, what do I need and want to do better here? So yeah, but no, I will definitely keep the services of our esteemed hosts in mind.
I'll give you a tip though, Rob. I'll give you a tip. I totally agree with you on all that aspect, but when it comes to relationship, the best time to ask for Dilara's help is when you're in the relationship. Don't leave it to last minute. It's beyond saving. You don't want to leave it when it's beyond saving.
Okay. So when you say in the relationship, you mean early in the relationship?
Yeah, like when you're in the relationship.
That's right. Not before. Not like exactly. When the relationship's about to, or once you're out of it. That's not the time to ask for. Right. Okay.
When you're about to file the divorce paper, that's not the time to ask Dilara for help. That's beyond help.
It's 10 years single? No plans on changing.
When there's still a chance, not like a last option.
I know. It actually makes me mind, because I work in tech support. The amount of time sometimes I will get a phone call and they say, oh yeah, look, we noticed this problem a couple of weeks ago and now this other thing started happening. We thought we'd better get in touch. It's like, please, next time when you notice the problem first, get in touch. We'd rather help you solve it rather than you suffer through it for a couple of weeks.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Here's one for just to throw the span in the works.
Ooh.
Kirstie might like this one.
Oh no.
How many fuck buddies is it okay to have on the go?
That might be an inappropriate question.
Well, I don't know. It's
Well,
I wouldn't
mean-
mind chiming in as well, but you know, as
Area
Kirsty's
of
been
expertise
sloppy
here.
first, let's take it
Let's
away.
go to our
It's not
favorite
directed
restaurant,
at
right?
anyone.
It's like,
I'm just
how many
suggesting
in
that
the
Kirstie
buffet
might be interested in
Well,
this
let me just
topic.
roll my sleeves up. If it involves sex, then it's probably aimed at me.
I am just saying,
Been
Kirstie
single
may
too
take
long.
an interest in this topic because
Oh, gosh.
of what it was.
I mean, honestly, it very much depends. If
So casual relationships. Let's call it more professional way, right?
yeah, okay. So casual relationships. It very much depends on. The only way casual relationships work is communication. You have to be very much on the same page, or it's always going to go like one way, and that someone's going to catch feelings and they're going to want more. So having multiple, you can have more than one casual relationship. It's perfectly fine, in my opinion, as long as you're on the same page of it's either, you know, like most of my fuck buddies, for example, I'm good friends with, but it stays at good friends and sex. And there needs to be a lot of communication to make sure you don't go past that point. Because that's when you then need to have the conversation about if you want to get with them or not. But the only thing I will say, if you're going to have more than one partner, you need to make sure that you are being safe. Because the last thing you want is like, for example, having a fuck buddy who's got other fuck buddies and then they're not being safe. And that's when the biggest thing is like risk of disease, right? So you just have to be very careful if you're going to have more than one partner. There's nothing wrong with having more than one casual partner as long as you're on the same page. I need to keep saying that because so many fuck buddies, it ends terribly because someone catches feelings because they don't talk to each other about it. But you just need to make sure you're being safe. That's like the biggest concern with more than one partner. And some people don't like having more than one partner, so it comes down to morals as well. Some people like to just be monogamous with a fuck buddy. Some people like to be more, you know, I can't remember the word, polygamy-ness, multiply.
Yeah.
I can't remember the word. So, I mean, it just depends where you are. If you're in it just for the sex and the companionship, then I think it's fine. Just, you know, don't lead people on. It's when you're like leading more than one person on and they're uncomfortable with you being with other people, but like you still do it, that's when it can start to be issues. And that's when you need to talk to each other. But that's kind of my take on it anyway. So, sex. I could be
There
a
we
sex coach at this rate.
Probably
Anything I talk about.
That's why we love you, Kirstie. Hi.
Yeah.
Um,
I had this with Delara anyway, it's fine. Not the
think,
sex, the conversation. The conversation.
Yeah, we did not do anything. That's for sure.
I'm not saying no, but you know, it's distance, couple.
I'm into men.
And it's heartbroken.
well,
Going for both ways there.
that's at least that's at least 3 out of 4 people on this stream with you, Delara. So that's good. I think enough is the answer that immediately comes to mind to that question, because I think be mindful of, as Kirstie said, these things do take communication, and they also take time. And sometimes you just find yourself, you know, a couple of Vicky's and I apologize to my late wife for at least talking some about our sex life. In the last 10 years of our relationship, 10 bloody years, due to medical reasons, our sex life suffered. And there was this part of me a few weeks after she died that kind of thought, right, I want to get my sex life back. God damn it. I want somebody to snuggle up with. It doesn't have to be a relationship. I just, and I've had a few adventures and a few experiences since then. And I've found it's just realizing, and there is a high that, of course, comes from that. There's the oxytocin, there's the thrill of the new, there's all that good stuff. But sometimes if you sit back, take a few deep breaths, meditate, do whatever you need to do, and just look at where you are, and maybe even your own expectations of yourself, because we've all got this idea. I say we all, but to some people, I am sure, that wonderful ideal that the late great Hugh Hefner exemplified of being that, drawing room dressing gown clad Lothario with women off his arm left, right, and center. And you kind of, you perhaps don't realize, it's like, how does he keep up with all of those women? How does he, run a successful business empire and, maintain relationships with the ones he wants to maintain relationships, and still presumably get in nookie time with the ones who he just wants to play with for a little bit? How does he do it all? And I think sometimes you just need to look at yourself and go, okay, well, how, as much as I love this wonderful shining ideal that I've got in my head, how am I right now? Am I enjoying the chase of trying to have multiple partners? Or if I'm experiencing having multiple partners, is it starting to get too much like hard bloody work, for God's sake? Is that, the scheduling and the putting the time in and all, and who do I? Yeah, well, let's face it. Come on, we've
well,
only
I'm free
got
next Saturday at 4 p.m.
pretty
Got
much
exactly an hour.
I mean, for God's sakes, I have Dungeons and Dragons every fortnight. I have, I have yard work I have to do. I must maintain my house. I have other priorities above and beyond. These things must be organized. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Kirstie, you have a streaming schedule. For God's sake,
I don't get a lot of sex.
Important matters. So people don't even really think about scheduling, and I think sometimes it is that one of those things where you really, if you want to do things in your life, you have to go, okay, I only have so much time. But aside from that, it is that thing of, okay, really, where am I finding overall that I'm satisfied with? Could it be you only just need one friend with benefits in your life, even aside from the worries about disease and am I satisfied with just having this one person who I know well enough? I mean, the friend who actually said, one of the friends who said, I'm happy for you to mention me at one point, she told me one day, very early on in the piece, there might be a point where I feel like I might catch feelings with you. And I will let you know, and I will go away for a couple of weeks while I just sort myself out. Which was I kind of thought, wow, that's very sane. No one has ever said, I've never even heard someone say it to someone else in my general vicinity ever before. That's fantastic. That's something, that's a great indicator of knowing who you are and how these things go. So, maybe it might be one or maybe two friends with benefits are just enough. You don't really need any more in your life, and you're comfortable. And sometimes when disease comes up, you do find I've occasionally found myself getting a little bit protective in that. It's like, no, I value this person and what we have together. I don't want to not just put myself at risk. I don't want to put them at risk either. So yeah, those to me are the things to be mindful of when you're trying to determine that wonderful question of how many is too many. You'll listen to yourself, look at where you're putting your time, look at how much energy you're using up, and whether or not you're in below just below the highs. Oh dear God, I'm exhausted by all this. Yeah, that will answer your question. You will know when you have too many and when you stop deluding yourself. You know what I mean? When you stop chasing that high all the time, you'll know.
I mean, I can agree on the scheduling. I usually have to schedule before lockdown and everything. It's like you schedule a weekend, you go crazy, and then you're good for like a couple of weeks, and then you repeat the process. You get like a month's worth of sex in 2 days, and then you're good, and then you just do it the next month. But obviously lockdowns kind of stopped that, so yeah. I just kept feeling getting judged. I kind of put an end to the conversation. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to very quickly, because my glass is empty, I'm going to nip off a couple of seconds to refill it. So if there's another question, when I get back, just somebody tell me what it is, and I'll be with you in a sec.
No problem.
And then there were 4. I feel like we're kind of taking the show away from you guys.
No,
Go for it.
Cool.
Go for it.
You're missing your popcorn, Nick.
I
Oh,
know.
no, banners. I think I need to redo the banners. Like it's taking out Kirstie's face.
Just like
Yeah, you can have to like tuck
I'll
on.
just sit like this way and go, hey.
I wonder if it's.
So I can just sit like this. It's fine. Just angle.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, I could switch people around.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of space, so I have to be very close to my webcam. My bed is like right against the back of my chair.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
Mate, my sperm factory doesn't produce that quickly, right? So I think 1 is the answer. I think 1 is the universal answer for old men like me. So there you go.
You're not old. Wait, you're not old, are you?
Oh, I'm considered old, you know.
Wait, what? I thought you're like the same age as me. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking. Wait, is he not? Wait, don't laugh.
I'm 36, Kirstie. I'm 36.
You're 36.
Yes.
I thought you were like 28 or something.
Shock horror.
Oh no.
Oh, honestly, I
28.
thought you were like 28.
My metabolism and hormones went down after 28, mate. It's like my sperm factory doesn't produce that quickly these days.
Oh my god, sperm factory. Delara's just like, nope.
I'm not sure if I wanted to know my brother's sperm count, but I think just feel like your parents start to tell you their sex life, and then you go, oh my god. Like, telling me their sperm count, and I was like, okay. This is
Walked in on that once.
for sure.
You walked into that one once. What, Kirstie?
Parents going at it. I was very young. I just saw things I shouldn't have seen. Traumatizes a young person's mind.
So that was the trigger, right? That was the catalyst for
Yeah, that was the
the question
catalyst
we have
for my
today.
active sex life now, you know.
I
Witnessed
I
it at
wonder
a young
what Mummy and
age.
Daddy doing.
think it's just a normal routine for that.
I just
in your
wrestle.
age.
I just wrestle with people. That's all it is. It's just wrestling.
I think it's very normal for your age.
Well, to be fair, my 5-year relationship was very sexless very quickly. So I think I'm just making up for that by just jumping on most people, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
Fair
I've
enough.
slept
be
with quite a few friends.
Don't be ashamed. You know,
Probably I've got so many friends.
We hand out awards for that kind of thing, so don't worry.
Well, it's one of those things. Well, chemistry is like a very important thing in the bedroom because, like, even though I dated my partner of 5 years, we had like no chemistry in the bedroom. But then when I obviously started it, literally no, it was just. Obviously, I was young when we started, so I was like, "Oh, this is great! This is amazing! I can't get enough of this." And then it was like it very quickly died off, and like physical like attraction. There is like chemistry is a thing, like pheromones, and I can go all into the biology stuff of things. I got a degree in biology. It's okay. I kind of know what I'm talking about. But like that, like chemical attraction to people is an actual thing. And after I left him. I started realizing like how much better sex is when you do have like the fundamental like sexual attraction to people, and I think that can also determine like how active some people are, because not everyone necessarily has like that like chemical attraction to others to an extent, and they're usually the people who are more likely to just be with one person at a time, because it's more like emotional connection, for example, that they'll have. Like they'll be more attracted to the person than they are with the sex, if that makes sense. So it can kind of depend as well. Like I can be very physically attracted to someone and not really give a shit what comes out of their mouth sometimes. But then other times you can care more about what they're saying as a person, and that's more attractive as well. So I guess that can kind of affect sexual like action or like, you know.
Now, could someone just tell me what the question was again? I came back in right when it was talking about sperm count. So,
Oh god, that wasn't a question. That was just Ick professing his sperm count.
no, I figured
Live on air.
that was an answer.
Live
but,
on air, yeah.
yeah.
Traumatizing Delara.
As by that, it's just like when it's my little brothers, that's kind of a bit like seeing your mom and dad having sex, but it's okay. From
All I'm talking about is all I'm talking about is the factory production unit, you know.
it's okay, bro. Keep talking.
You're gonna need more wine, Delara. You're gonna need more wine.
I mean, I only have water tonight, so if I had wine, I probably would be better. Next week I'll be prepared.
So what was the question again anyway?
I think we're just carrying on from the whole fuck buddies thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, in that case, I'll horn in very quickly. One of my friends who's private messaging me wanted me to put up with regards to number of fuck buddies, as long as everyone is clean and honest and open as much as you want.
Yeah. High five. I agree with you, dude. Perfect. Yeah.
Keep it simple.
That's all it is. Yeah. Keep it simple. Keep it safe.
Yes.
I think it sounds like if that person asks such a question, I think they already have quite a lot. That's why they're probably asking. If they had one,
don't be ashamed. Do not be ashamed of the amount of sex that you have. Embrace it. Not necessarily your sperm count, but embrace everything else.
I don't know. Part of me imagines back when I was a young virgin, that would be the sort of question that I would come out with. How many is enough? You know, it's like, Rob, you'll get there a bit. You know, you've got a few other things to do before you have to worry about that question. But yeah.
Okay, here's a good one. Early relationship problems that are most likely to get worse over time. What to look out for?
Lack of communication. If in yourself, fear, whatever is stopping you from taking a deep breath, sitting down with the person you're in a relationship with and saying, this is where I'm at. That's it. That to me, you know, that would be it. It's just that little nag of fear that says, don't mention that. It's okay. You know, it's not a big deal. Don't just shut up. Don't rock the boat. Don't make waves. Yeah. And I guess, you know, the corresponding other side of fear when you find yourself getting angry at somebody, those would be the two things, because usually anger comes out of an insecurity and a fear that you have in yourself. So I don't know. To me, that's what if I start venturing into something more serious, that's one of the things I really want to look out for, again, as part of being that person who used to be, don't rock the boat, don't make waves, fly under the radar. I feel like that is a skill that I need to learn, and, you know, that hopefully in the next whatever, I will have the chance to practice, either with people in the meantime or with someone who does wind up being my next, my next, dry phrase again, significant other. That's what leaps to mind for me. Just be careful of fear and make sure that when you do sit down and talk, at least you're not talking directly from that fear. You know, you're aware of it and you're trying to at least have a solid conversation. Those are my thoughts.
Very good.
I feel like Delara probably has some good few points.
Well, I think the biggest thing would be that boundaries, you know, lack of boundaries. If it's not there, that's what I always say that at the beginning of the relationship, that setting the boundaries and really getting clear with what's, you know, non-negotiables and what's want and what's not want. You know, if they haven't done before, that would just get with time, it would just get worse and worse and worse. And in the same time, I think it's really important to create that safe space in the relationship to have conversation, because the biggest thing is just well, at least couples come to me like two things always is just happening, that they have challenges with communication, but it's not really communication. It's because one of them feels like it's not being seen or heard. So so other way around to answer that question is that it's key at the beginning of relationships, set those boundaries, get clear understanding what's okay, what's not okay, what are the needs and what needs to be done for the needs, and what are the desires, what's the vision, what's the goal, if you like, from that relationship, and what it looks like, and just to see, make sure that values are aligned, and what's wanted in that relationships are aligned. So if they're not very clear, and if people start to relationship just for the sake of it, a lot of the time that is because they start with really high oxytocin, and when that fades, and relationship fades as well. So I would say that they're the fundamental ones.
It's an interesting thing about boundaries, because sometimes I find myself kind of like, I hear setting of boundaries, and then part of me is like not exactly sure what perhaps what counts as a boundary and how to go about doing it. Because I guess the one thing that might leap to mind for me is if I were starting to spend time with someone, and I might say something like, look, just to let you know, I am still grieving for a woman, and this is a hypothetical, because I'm actually quite all right with talking about Vicky. I mean, I've even said to her, look, there is this woman in my life who you can never meet. I can never introduce you to her because she's passed away. But I remember hearing one point about this, during various explorations, when I came across this idea of polyamory, where people can have multiple committed relationships, and you will have someone who is, it might be someone who you have a direct, full relationship with. They're your friend, they're your romantic interest, and they are your lover as well. But this person also has another partner who is also a romantic partner, friend, lover, whatever. But the other partner is not, doesn't have such a strong connection with you. It's not like a triad or something like that. And then that other partner is called a metamor. And the way I thought about it, sometimes it's like, yeah, there's this metamor who, you will never meet, because they were in my life for 15 years. And, I've even occasionally commented to a couple of people, it's weird. I wish I could introduce you to her, but if I could introduce you to her, you and I wouldn't be as close as we are. But, for a hypothetical thing, it might even be, look, I'm still going through this process. There is this woman who was in my life, and I still feel sensitive. I can't talk about her with you yet. I guess that might be something that, it's a friend of mine talked about being brutally honest in your communication. And I guess part of me was like, I mean, really? I mean, absolutely no filter straight out, but maybe it's brutally honest in setting your boundaries. Like, this is a limit for me, and maybe in time, if we do deepen our relationship, we'll overcome it. But right now, I can't go there.
Yeah, that's a boundary. So that she knows that she's not going to dig it. She's not going to push you. She's not going to try to challenge you. She knows that that's a no-go zone for the time being, until when you're ready to talk about. Yeah, that's a boundary. Boundaries is all about what's okay, what's not okay.
What you're comfortable with, yeah.
Yeah, so then, that person knows, like, what what they can do, what they can't do. It's not like not that what they can do, what they can't do, but it's where you're at, and it's just, for example, what you said with your partner when you went for dinner, when she said, can't remember what she said, she wanted that mark. Rob is really busy now.
Sorry, no, I just had a friend of mine a friend sort of was putting something up, and I thought she might be wanting to comment again, but about that little incident at the cafe.
Yeah, when you sit
sort of book club. Yeah.
the book club, that could be in a boundary as well. You can just say like, "Oh, in public, even if you don't agree with something, I don't feel comfortable when you're talking about that. You can just give me feedback when we get back home, basically." That's just so fundamental. It's so key that it just makes people walk all over each other because they don't know where they're supposed to stop.
They don't know where they stand. Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know like what's okay to ask, what's not okay to ask. So that's what I'm saying. It's just so important, so important to talk about it beginning of the relationship. And then you can do it with time. You can do a lot with time. You might just feel maybe more comfortable. And then if you feel comfortable, you can say, actually, I'm okay with talking about that, just like you said about your ex-wife, for example.
Yeah.
So that would be my thoughts.
No, I agree. I think boundaries is probably one of the most important things.
Yeah.
In communication, like you need to know where you both stand. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Ick.
He just wants his popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially it's boundaries is everything, and I look for compatibility in the beginning of this first stage before I ever get into a. I spoke about compatibility last week, and essentially it's the core thing that I look for. But absolutely, communicating boundary is the first thing, and expectations really.
What kind of expectations?
As in, have no expectations is what I'm
low
trying
sperm count.
Make sure your partner has no expectations.
Stay in Kirstie's ammo.
Yeah, I don't forget these things. You've done it now.
Yeah. Or at least
5 years from now, I'll just whip it out in conversation.
Ooh, honey.
It'd be like on Among Us or something.
It'll be on Among Us. I'd be like, well, you've got that low count. Vote him off.
So so that's why you were in Specimen, hey?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I think having no expectations is a tough one. We all form them without even realizing. I think the best we can do is maybe manage them because I will say I have my own hopes for the future, especially when it comes to finding another woman. But at least I think it's knowing that they're there and going, okay, they're there, they're fine, they're nice, and I can get a little bit wistful and whatever. But at least I can work on making sure I don't take those expectations and set them on top of somebody else. Yeah, because if you say I don't have expectations, oh shit, I'm having expectations, but I shouldn't have expectations. What's wrong with me? Yeah, just be aware of them and manage them, and it's okay. We're all human beings.
I think it's fine having expectations, but you just need to make sure that the other person's aware of them and what you're wanting out of the relationship.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to set expectations. They're probably not going to meet them because you haven't had a talk about it. And then that's where it all just starts falling apart. So, yeah.
Coolios. I think I agree with all this, so I don't think I've got much to add other than I think respect is a big one.
Mm.
This is where the criticism comes into play.
Putting him in their place.
Like any sign of criticism is like,
A big warning sign as well is if you try to voice your concerns, like for example, if you try to set a boundary or you explain something you're uncomfortable with and they try to then explain to you why it's not uncomfortable or like they offend you in some way, which can happen a lot when you're meeting someone new. Sometimes you have different opinions and you might offend someone, but it's when they then try to invalidate your like value or your opinion. Like say for example, you said something offensive and you'll be like, oh, that's I'm uncomfortable with what you said, like that's and they're like, oh no, I didn't mean it offensively. And it's like, well, that's kind of a warning sign right there, because if they're trying to tell you how you're supposed to feel and what you're supposed to like, what your opinion should be, whether it was supposed to be offensive or not, that's usually a warning sign that they're already not respecting you as a person. So just take that as a thing as well. Like if they try to invalidate your boundaries and opinions as well, that's usually, because I see that a lot with people. They're like, oh, I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. It was just a joke. It was like, doesn't matter. You've still made the person uncomfortable. You don't get to tell them they shouldn't be uncomfortable. You should apologize for it.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that I see in early relationships as well.
You should just bam them across the face and say,
like,
oh,
you
I
what?
didn't mean that too.
Sorry, you're not. That doesn't
That
hurt.
was a joke
It wasn't
too.
meant to hurt.
There you
Didn't
go.
mean to hurt your face.
Yes, it was just in the way.
It was a joke.
It
It
wasn't
was a bit of
supposed to hurt.
banter. Yeah, it was just banter.
Oh,
I don't
God.
just slap people for no reason, by the way. It's very rarely that's occurred. Just putting that out there. I don't just walk around the street slapping people that look at me. Would you?
He's just enjoying the silence. It's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, what happened there?
It's
Did I just disconnect?
We're okay.
Good silence.
Mm.
Bring up any more interesting stories?
Anyone else want to jump in with anything else?
Not right at the moment. So, next question, I suppose.
Are there any other questions?
Are we out?
I don't think
Jono's
there's
frantically
many
browsing the
other
web.
questions.
What do we want to talk about?
I
Talk about the
did.
horrors.
I will probably get to start browsing the web next, if that's the case.
I found, oh God, there was an article I wound up that popped up in my feed that I kind of pasted into one of the links that you put up for the chat ahead of time. Where are we?
Was it actually a link or was it actual screenshot?
It was I actually put the link in. Where are we? Photo tag. Oh wait, I'm going into the live feed. I don't want to be doing that. I'm trying to find it in my notifications and reminders and stuff. There we go. Posted hours ago. We expect too much from our romantic partners was the title of our article. I mean, yeah. Then again, that I guess that pretty much we've kind of answered that question. What with the question of setting expectations, but yeah, I guess I wonder how much, especially when the big M word rolls around. You know what? I remember seeing a video at one point that kind of talked about the modern institution of marriage and how we expect our partner to take on the work that perhaps a village used to share in terms of emotional support and that kind of thing. I mean, and I guess this is almost a question for Dilara. I mean, how when people enter into a relationship, what are the expectations that people sort of like come to you with? You know, why doesn't this person do this for me, and why don't they? You know, I thought this was what a marriage was about. I mean, I even have one friend of mine who was in a relationship at one point, and they were dating, and everything was great, and she was doting on him, wonderful. And then the instant they got married, everything stopped, and it's like, and she sort of said, "I know we're married. I don't have to do all that for you anymore."
Ugh, I hate them. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. See, that's a decision. That's not a question. Like, she made a decision to do that. So
Yeah.
she's not someone I mean, at least like if you ask me like as a coach, it's not something I can do about that and to change it. Because it sounds like she had a strategy basically, and that's what I'm going to do. And then when I get married, this is the plan. Like I'm going to do that. So that is such an individual thing. That's not about the relationship. That's just her individual choice. So I guess that if we think about it, is there anything he could do about it? Again, that's what I'm going to repeat myself again. You know, when we start to begin of the relationship, it's so good to talk a lot about what do you see that person a relationship. What's the ultimate vision of their ideal relationship? I mean, remove yourself from that relationship just to see that what they see marriage, like what they see commitment, what they see dating at the beginning, you know, what do they see a family, and just see what they want and get very clear, or as much as you can, and just see that if you can fit into that, or not that you can fit into that, does that match with your vision, with how you see relationships. But if somebody wants to have a plan, basically just want to get married to somebody and just going to do, you know, certain things until they get married and then they're going to stop doing it, that's a very tricky one to do something about it, because it's just a decision. And it doesn't sound like that actually leaves any door for communication.
You know, a friend of mine said something interesting once that might make a question, especially talking to me as to where I was at. He was talking to me as to where I was at in life. You know, my finding crushes on people, that kind of thing. And he sort of said, I think we were talking generally about the idea of codependency, of like meeting someone, like putting your, you know, each of you putting your needs on each other before you'd, you know, worked out whether or not you were really, whether you really fit together. But he sort of said, he reckoned that what I needed to do was spend some time getting to know myself on my own so that I was a confident person, you know, build myself up a little bit more, that when the time came for me, you know, when someone came along, that at least when I started to change myself a little bit to include them in my life, at least it was coming from a strong foundation. I mean, how much is that a true thing when you meet someone, and you were talking about, you know, that idea of, you know, fitting in, but that's not really what you should be doing. Do you change when you meet someone and decide, okay, I want to go in on them, and how much of that is a good thing?
Can you repeat the last question?
I guess, how much do you change as a person when you meet somebody and then decide, you know, you mutually decide to form a relationship with each other? And I guess how much change, and maybe again, this is coming back to boundaries that we discussed before, but how much change is a good thing?
Well, it depends on how much change that relationship actually can take, you know, or is it both sides just open to the change in that relationship? There's this saying, and there's a quote, I'm gonna paraphrase it. When relationship starts, women think men will change, men will think men won't change. So it's
actually quite true.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, you know. So see, the context of it, the best relationships actually partners grow together in that relationship, no matter what. Ultimately, everything should be growth, because if a relationship or marriage stays on the same level, they're going to get bored, and then they're not going to experience any growth, any excitement, any kind of commitment. And so, with that being said, people do change in the relationship because we individually change. You know, you're not the same. Like if you were married right now, you wouldn't be the same person that, you know, the guy who married your wife, right? You're a different man.
Indeed. And in a way, I am, I am the person who I became through being Vicky's husband. Yeah.
Yeah, because that became your identity on that marriage. And it's okay for some people that they become wife, they become husband, they become father, they become this, and then that becomes your identity. But that doesn't mean that you can't have the identity like separate as well, which is important. For example, when I work with couples, one of the focus, especially for women, once they had children, their identity become mom. They're not wife anymore. Yeah, so they don't act like a wife anymore. Almost like a husband just like disappears, and everything has become a child. And then they almost like lose their identity as a wife, and then they actually take the identity of a mother. And then if father didn't actually experience that, then he is a little bit confused, because then it's almost like he lost his wife, and then mother is there. I don't know why Keith is actually getting upset about it.
I think he's been commenting a lot, but we've not been mentioning him. So apologies, Keith. We've
When we're talking, it's a little bit tricky to stop and read it and talk and then carry on.
It is, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, because you don't want to interrupt the chain of thought. So thank you very much for the points, and the Keith living well, and we should always be each other. But we're that's unfortunately it's we do the level best we can, Keith. Thank you. We will keep that in mind.
We're aware of the comments, Keith. Sorry we didn't say anything, but because it's mid-flow conversation, we didn't want to just cut them up and reply to comments. So apologies.
No, we appreciate that, Keith, but it's difficult when we're trying to actually finish what we're trying to say, and like to stop and read that and then carry on. So it's very difficult, but we do appreciate that.
Well, we're working on it.
I think Jono knows a lot of people. Keith.
Oh, that Jono, he's a hussy. I tell you, he gets about everywhere,
Does that answer your question, Rob?
I learned.
Rob, does
What was that, Delora?
Does that answer your question?
I think so. Yes, I think it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure.
I'm just going to be right back really quickly. I need the toilet. Sorry.
Okay.
But I think when it comes to relationship, that it's always a room. It's the best that if there's a room for growth and growth together, growth individually, supporting each other's growth, because this is a lifetime partnership. I think sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes people realize that this is a lifelong commitment, and they treat it as if that is gonna I think because of the society, especially we're living right now, everything's so fast, like microwave food and fast. Sometimes when couples get into the commitment, they forget that no rush, don't rush. It's a lifelong commitment. Take your time, communicate, build the groundwork. So that's really, really important. Keith wants to mention.
Third time married.
Damn, I'm right. I only got married once.
Well, I was, like I said earlier on, I was Vicky's husband number 5. I was the Vicky's fifth husband. So, sometimes you just need a few tries to get it right.
No,
I feel like I'm the only person that's never gone to that point ever.
Well, as long as you are happy, I'm not going to say something smart. I was like, don't worry, Kirstie, you'll get there. As long as you are happy and satisfied in life, then who the hell cares?
Oh yeah, I don't plan to
Exactly.
get married.
Exactly.
I don't like the idea of marriage, but I don't like the idea of commitment. So that's probably the biggest issue.
Keith, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Oh.
How beautiful that you have your soulmate. You know, sometimes we just need to have different experiences and learn different lessons. And, you know, I always say to, you know, my clients as well, the single ones, like sometimes you're going to end up meeting with the one, if you like, your soulmate. That person might be somebody you already know, might be even somebody you dated before, but you weren't ready. You were not aligned. You know, you weren't be the person that could have that healthy and fulfilling relationship with that person. Maybe it's going to be a brand new person. Maybe it's not. But you know, like when we change, everything else is going to change. That's wonderful to hear, Keith. Look, Kirstie, Keith says that it took him 41 years. So you got another 20.
I mean, I'm flattered, but yeah, I don't think I plan on getting married ever. It's too much work.
Now, just checking in. Yeah. Just checking. I've got a question from a friend in the pipeline. So let me know when we're ready for another one, and I'll pass it through.
Go for it.
Okay. How do you know when to stop a relationship? My friend reckons that she had signs that she should have stopped hers before getting married, but she didn't find the strength or courage to before she got married, only after. So, yeah.
So the question is
how
like,
do you know when to stop? Yeah. How do you know when you basically call it off and say, okay, this is the investment is not worth it? I guess that's mine.
First of all, I think she knew, but she didn't do anything about it. And then she ended up getting married, right? Did I understand correctly?
I think so. She says, I had signs that I should have stopped mine before getting married, but didn't find the strength or courage to.
So, yeah, that's the time she knew. That's when you know that when something doesn't feel right, there's something that you don't feel comfortable. You know, like that when you, especially when you're going to get married, like it's beautiful. Obviously, everybody has glories because you think like, shit, like I'm gonna be with this person the rest of my life. I mean, that's what we think, at least, you know, at that time. But that should be like good scare.
Yeah.
Not the kind of thing that, oh, you know, like I you know, I have questions and I should marry that person. If that person thinking about that, that is the time to end that relationship. Or take a step back, have a long conversation, express what's happening, get married.
I think you also need to bear in mind the other person's feelings as well. Like if you are not on the same page with them emotionally, is it really fair to continue in a relationship you're not committed to when they are, so to speak? Like you might not want to hurt their feelings by breaking up with them, but you're going to make it worse if you just drag it out and then break up with them later anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of devil, you know, that tends to go on in situations like this. There are times when I look back at how Vicky and I started off. I mentioned earlier on in the chat that I moved out from my mum and dad and straight in with to move in with Vicky. And, you know, we were together for 3 years, then we got married. And I don't know, there wasn't really a time of getting to know you. And that's one of the things that now, especially after I dropped the L-bomb in the last couple of relationships that weren't really, but, you know, one or the both of us to a certain extent thought that they were, that I feel like is the greatest thing I can take away is, okay, here is the mistake, you know, at the very least in the last few times, here is the mistake that I don't want to repeat. I want to now, in part, accept that I'm still grieving, but also say, okay, if there is someone nice in my life, let's take the time. Let's give it 6 months. Let's give it a year. Let's give it 3. And let's just enjoy each other's company. Allow me to practice a bit better, not flinching and hiding away so much. This is one of the things I do want to change about myself. And, you know, also practice setting my own boundaries and saying and communicating them. My friend says she agrees with your points, by the way, Delara, and she says it felt like it was something that they both did. And then when the first big fight happened, he found an out and took it. What that specifically means, I don't know, but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Rob. It's, you know, the whole context of this is obviously for the marriage, but in the relationships, there's red flags. There's 99% of the time, not 100%, but 99% of the time, the reason couples, or, you know, like if they're married or people split up, it's exactly the same reason that they actually had challenges in the beginning, so-called red flags. It's just sometimes we just want to make that relationship work so much. Various of reasons. Could be loneliness, could be that because we're so in love with that person, or we think that we should, or something like that. But that red flag doesn't go anywhere. Unless, like, this is a very conscious couple, like they say, okay, I had these ones, but we are in it. Now we need to be open and honest. Like, maybe let's get help. Let's do this. Let's do that. But a lot of the time, the reason people split up is actually the reason that they actually knew something was wrong, you know, from the beginning, called red flags. It's there. It's there. Like, we don't learn anything, like, because we don't trust our intuition. We think that, oh, maybe I'm scared, or maybe it's that. Maybe if you get married, it would be changed. Oh, let's have a baby. You know, baby might change things. No, it doesn't. Nothing. It doesn't. The only thing would change that, have a conversation and see if there's a way you both can, you know, find a way to turn things around. But that requires a commitment from both sides, not one. Yeah.
I see what you mean. Oh, by the way, Keith says that Melissa and he got together in 1996. Lots of roadblocks pushed through, now happier than ever. So if curious, one thing I'm curious about, Keith. So got together. Was there a courtship before the getting together? And does getting together mean the proper start of your commitment, whether it was a marriage or something else? Or how long was that getting to know you process before you finally went, yeah, this is it, we're good, and we are going to keep working on this together for the rest of our lives? And I'm just saying a quick, you're welcome to my friend. Who just said thank you for me to, raising that with you guys. And I get the feeling she got quite a bit out of it.
Oh, good. We appreciate that question.
I'm glad to hear it.
Well, that's what this show is about, so that's good.
Yes. So
helping people.
But apparently we've been delaying her from getting to the gym. She didn't realize the chat was going to go quite this long. Yeah, it's usually about 3.5 hours.
It does go on quite long, but it's good though.
Yeah, no, these are fun. Well,
thanks, Keith. We appreciate it. We do our best.
And I've got another friend of mine who is talking about getting on the show, Jono, so I've told her to get in touch and send you a direct message, and we'll see if she says hello.
Oh, sure. Go for it. Absolutely.
And there's one thing that I have, so I've had about three friends so far who've been kind of kibitzing along in my DMs, just because Facebook doesn't seem to be wanting to let them comment for some
Did they try to go onto the YouTube link I sent them?
I don't know. I
It
would say
works
she's
better
not
on
commented yet,
YouTube.
maybe not.
It works
Probably
much better on YouTube than it does on Facebook.
Ah,
If you-
Especially if they're not in my immediate friend circle.
Yeah.
I don't know
But,
why. It's just the way the system's a bit
Yeah, if
sometimes
you make-
be a bit buggy.
make an account on YouTube, they should be able to comment through YouTube. Easy enough.
But my friend who was talking, who just said this, she was the one who actually told me about, actually said that thing about, if I get feelings, I'm going to keep my distance. She said, when we were talking about expectations and hopes, she said, I have no hopes. They get more dampened the more I date.
I can agree.
Blokes, lift your game, for God's sakes, guys.
Oh, I can.
This woman is wonderful. I mean, that woman is wonderful too, and so is that one, but okay, point the other way. That woman is wonderful, and it's bloody hell. Oh, and she forgot her YouTube password, so that explains that. Yeah. So
dating is disastrous.
Yeah. See previous comments re Tinder.
I think people out there, they want to have a commitment, they want a relationship, and they are good guys, and they are good women, they're good man, so don't judge like 1, 2, 3 people. Like don't ever judge that. It's for me that I always think, like, no matter what happens, like the possibility of being with someone who gets you, whatever the length that you're supposed to be together, I'm like, why would I block something so amazing? Why would I get into my own way?
I can answer that.
You might not.
Go for it, Kirstie. Answer it.
Well, when I say that dating is disastrous, it's more like it's me that's the problem, and I'm fully aware of this. It's one of those things where, like, yeah, it sounds great to like have this idea of you have the potential to be with someone who's amazing and fantastic and live your life with them and everything, but it's also, I don't know if it's everyone's the same, but people who have potentially commitment issues like me, it's more I'm very bad at self-sabotaging relationships, because my logic is I don't know if it's going to work out in the future. And because I don't know, it's safer to just end it now before there's the chance of it going wrong. So usually whenever a relationship starts getting too intense, I get like that anxiety and that fear. And then that's when I start pushing away. And that's usually when I then sort of basically make the relationship end, because, I'll basically just self-sabotage it, and I'll start like, I've done it not necessarily as much now because I haven't really been trying to date, but back when I would like start random arguments. I would just get like really not nasty, but like I would cause a lot of tension to the point that it ended. But because it ended on like my terms, it was okay. And it's easier then. Wait, my mic's got really loud for us. It was easier that way than it was to like go further down the line and get more invested and then have it not work out. But that's just from my perspective. And that's like, I'm fully aware that that's an issue with me.
The fear of commitment, fear of intimacy, and to be in control, because you're so frightened to be like, if I open my heart, if I'm being myself, if I actually fully show up and just love someone with everything I have, what if that they reject me and they don't love me back? And for that,
pretty much.
Much for you, and for that, and then you're like, no, I don't, I'd rather reject someone before they reject me. So but the context that I was actually saying, that if don't lose hope, because it sounds like that person actually wanted to be in a relationship but did have some bad experience when it comes to the dating, that's why they kind of like lose hope and give up. So all I'm saying, like, if you want to, I never force anyone to be.
Right.
It's none of my business. Like, if people don't want to be in the relationship, they shouldn't. No point. But to me, that sounds like she actually wanted to. She had the intention. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. Am I in the wrong place?
So let's see. Are we talking about the one who had hopes and got dampened the more she dated?
Yeah. She had
she's typing. And by the way, just so you know, Kirstie, because you typed. I blame my friend for that.
It's fine.
Kirstie, when you said that dating was disastrous, she said she was with you on that one. She's typing at the moment. I can see the 3 little dots doing the wiggly things. So yeah.
Just out of curiosity on this one, for those that do go on dates and have disaster on dates, when you find these people, where do you find these people from?
Tinder.
And what's the common, like, what's the thing you pick out when
Is he
like,
coming
is
out?
there common interest or
bit.
things that take your pick, or I don't know how it works.
Well,
You-
it's to a
You
certain
cut out
extent.
massively there. I didn't hear what you said, Jono. Sorry.
To
So
a certain extent, it's
is there
fairly
a common
superficial,
interest that
Tinder.
you have that before you match, or is it just literally a this
Well,
looks right?
I mean, between the dick pics you get a lot on Tinder. Honestly, I'm very upfront with the fact that 9 times out of 10, I'm after sex. So if there's like the flirty kind of banter, and it's
You
like
must have you.
it's just pretty like you flirt, they flirt, and then you have like that kind of attractionness. That's usually when I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'll meet up with them, and if it goes well, we'll have sex, and then that's usually it. So you just have to kind of like get what you want really from the start. As Delara was saying, like as long as you just say what you want from the start, usually it's fine. But if they're trying to be all like cutesy, like, oh, I'm looking for, this and this, and I want to get to know your books and like your favorite colors, and I'm like, no, sorry. I just,
Isn't it? Because
yeah,
for dating,
exactly. It's what you're after. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually just a different context, I think. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really dating. That's more of just.
dating.
You can casually date. That's like casually dating, not like dating.
Dating
that's
when you're looking for a relationship dating.
Yeah, but it's hard.
I can't give you advice on that. If I get to that point in my life, I'll let you know.
No, I found, at least on Tinder, I'd put a little bit up about myself, some of my interests, that kind of thing, and perhaps say, look, right at the moment, all I'm looking for is just FWB. At least, that's the most I'm looking for, and then, but I've actually wound up with a few good straight up friends out of Tinder. I will say, someone who just moved up here recently and some miniatures. Another person who I met locally, and we just kind of just wound up spending our time hanging out and chatting. So yeah, I think if you put yourself out there a little bit and be willing to see just what sort of connections you make, it's great. And some of the struggles have just been when you keep chatting back and forth and things just don't work out. You queue something up and then the person gets back and says, "Chip, sorry, can't make it. We'll have to reschedule." And yeah, and then sometimes just with the overall the little bit of the giddy high that you get off swiping left and right all the time in Tinder and going, "Ooh, I wonder what cute person is on there, within who wasn't there this morning and who's there this evening." For me, that was the main thing where I go, "Oh, all right, I'm kind of getting an anticipatory high off this. I'm getting a bit sick of it. I'll shut it down." Now, my friend who actually mentioned about her hopes getting damper the more she dated said, "I've recently found that the most important relationship now is with myself. Taking a backseat to dating has been crucial to my well-being and self-worth." And this is maybe more to the point, Delara. "I am now less inclined to put up with crap. Is romance and seduction dead?"
No, it's not.
No.
Okay, I just have to say something. Okay, this is a very relaxed chat, but you both, like, Kirstie, you know what you're looking for in that context. Clearly not dating, which is totally fine. Like, you're very honest about that. Rob, like with you more, the way that you say, like, it sounds like you just want to see what's out there, want to explore it. But
I think so.
If somebody wants to real date, you gotta set your intention. You need to know what you want. You really need to get really, really clear, like everything else. Like I always say that you don't just go to the gym for the sake of it. If I just lift a couple of things, will I get six-pack? I mean, you won't.
I hope so.
Like,
Yeah, I hope so.
like, with hope that maybe like you're not gonna eat like 2 days and then hope that you're gonna lose weight. It doesn't work like that. It's like, what do? You do things consistently. You know what you want. You work towards it, right? You don't get disheartened that if you don't lose weight a little while. So I always say that don't base on few people's story. And what really kind of sometimes frustrates me and saddens me is that the language, people don't realize that the language they use, how much it makes an impact in their relationships and what they're looking for. One thing I always say to my clients, stop saying dating is bad, dating is dead, and this is dead. It's not dead. You think it's dead, so then you keep saying it, and that's why it's dead for you. We know every day, like thousands, hundreds of people meeting with amazing people, even on Tinder, like many different dating apps. They get married. They're not even messing around. They're still married. So, but these are not just exception. This just happens because everything is intention. So for me, like one thing that I'm getting more and more aware, which in a way that it frustrates me, not for me, for other people that who really wants in a relationship. All these jokes about, how dating is horrible, how man is only after one thing, like woman is just only one thing. That's bullshit. Yes, that's always been like that. It's always been like that. Like it's the same thing. You build a business, like you can apply this to anyone. You can build a business, and then somebody's business works, and they say, "Oh, got lucky." Did they really got lucky?
I hate when people say that.
Yes.
People.
No.
But majority of the time, it wasn't. These people know what they want, work hard for it, and the intention. But for some reason, when it comes to the dating, people think that, like, oh, okay, I'll just go there. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. No, it's not. You got to be very clear
You
about
have to put the work in.
Yeah, you need to clear your energy. You need to clear these beliefs. You need to clear that hurt. What is it you're holding on to in the past? What part of you keep attracting these people, unavailable people, or, like people only after one thing? I'm just going to give an example from myself. I couldn't be happier from my dating life, even in COVID. I might be single, but I'm definitely never got dick pics, never got any kind of disrespect, never got any of that. It's because I clear that part of me attracts guys like that. But I know for a fact that men want sex. So the guys that I'm talking to doesn't mean that they don't want sex. Of course they do. I'm aware of that. But what I'm saying is it's the belief. And that's what I'm so passionate and in a way frustrated, that people do not realize the power of the words they keep using. The best way to really kind of find the right relationship or dating, change the language you use. If you're if you're a woman, if you're attracted to men, heal. What's your attitude about men? What's your hurt? Is it daddy problems? Heal. Work. Get a coach. Work with me. That's what I do. What? Is it mommy issues? Is that? Work on it. Is it because your parents got divorced and so you don't believe in marriage? This is nothing to do with marriage. This is your belief what marriage is. Clear those belief system. So many people having amazing dating lives. That's not an accident. And these people not supermodels. These guys not have a six-pack. They're not millionaires. They're not this and they're not that. They're regular people at the same time. It's because they believe in it, because they don't project their insecurities. They don't project their own fears when it comes to the dating or relationships. Take responsibility of what you're contributing to that. Are you attracting emotionally unavailable people? Maybe you're emotional unavailable. Have you ever thought about that? Are you attracting people like who are struggling with intimacy? Maybe you are the one who's struggling with intimacy, and that's okay. No judgment. You can't stay in the same place, but if you want something, don't complain those guys, those girls not out there, or the relationships out there. Accept the fact that you are the biggest contributor for this. Sorry, it's a rant, but I'm so saddened, frustrated, and frustrated with all these people moaning about how bad dating is. It is because everybody is looking for
making it bad.
Everybody wants to actually be the one, to be the first of all, say, I just want this, I want that. And obviously it stops a lot of the time fear of rejection.
Yeah.
So,
no, I completely agree with that. Like with the whole like issues and stuff, like I'm fine with admitting that I'm a problem when it comes to dating, but as you said, it's when people who make dating not a problem, but I have my own issues with dating, and that's why it's not a thing in my, and I'm fine with that. I take responsibility for it, but I completely agree with you when people complain about the dating being bad or like other situations, but then they don't understand that they're the one that can improve it themselves. They want to blame someone else because it's easier than taking responsibility. And I completely agree with you on that, like 100%.
No doubt about it. So this is like, it's like I'm in Turkey now, and I know I'm a little bit extreme, but it's exactly the same thing. I said something the other day. Whenever I say like this, they say no because this is Turkey, and I'm like, that is the most pathetic excuse I ever heard in my life. So this is Turkey. This is just a country. People are people. Like I change, what I do. Don't blame country. Don't blame government. Don't believe your mom and dad. Just acknowledge it if it's your mom and dad. Acknowledge it if it's the country. Either leave the country or create something in that country. Either, go for that relationship and really work on your fear of rejection, whatever it is. I'm not going to lie. Falling in love, it's only for the brave people. But it scares everyone. Like everybody have fear of rejection. But the ones that have the courage and go for it, they actually can experience something. But if you want to be like, I don't want to be hurt, but I want to be in a relationship. I don't want to show my hurt, but I want that. No, it doesn't work that way. This is not like a kindergarten kind of thing. You have to go for it. You have to open your heart with the possibility of your heart might be broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it might not be broken, and then you can experience the most amazing relationship ever existed. It's a choice. No right or wrong. It's just a choice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well
rant
said, sis. Well said. Rant away. Keep going. Keep going. This is where I need the popcorn,
Speaking
man.
on the other side, like from my perspective, I don't think it's fair for Keith to say that when I was talking about just what I was looking for in people at the moment, I don't think it's fair to say that shallow per se, because don't get me wrong, like most of the people in my friendship and most of the friends with benefits I have now, I am only still continuing that because we have such a great connection as people. Like I love having deep, meaningful conversations with people, and I love getting to know people, but that doesn't make me shallow that I just sometimes want to have sex. Like if I'm physically attracted to someone and I want to sleep with them, that doesn't mean I'm shallow, because if I get to know them as a person and I think they're a great person, that's great. But just because I'm not looking to, get to know every single person that I meet to that level, it's not really fair to say that they're shallow, because it's not about shallow. It's just about what you're interested in at the time. And so I don't think it's fair to label it in a negative light. Like it really annoys me when people go, "You're so shallow. You just sleep around with people." And I'm like, well, no, because the best people in my lives, I love to death because of who they are as a person. And it's got nothing to do with me wanting to sleep with them. It's like two completely different situations.
I will add to that.
Sorry,
I will add to that is, as long as you know what you want and you're happy with it, don't mind what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately that, shallow behavior is that in your heart that all you want to do is sex, but you give them hope and, a potential of you want relationship, you want commitment.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's the lever to keep getting more sex.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
shallow.
exactly.
You know that you don't want commitment. You know you don't want relationship. You know you all want sex, but in order to get that, you pretend like you want something else. That's shallow. That's not honest.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that like with your case, I think the problem is that most people are not used to people telling them exactly what they want and how they want. They're so used to people hiding their intentions, especially if it's like should be so shamed or like
Yeah.
controversial in society, and then it's so unusual they reject you. But actually, that's what I said at the beginning. If people like you and say, you know what, all I want is sex, great. That's not what I want. I want relationship. So then
Yeah, exactly.
Go your way, I go my way. But the problem actually arises. People have the same desire that you have, but they
don't voice it.
Like they want commitment, they want relationship, and then they end up like wasting other people's time, or they breaking other people's hearts. That's shallow.
Yeah.
That should not be done. So when people tell you that, it's because they're not used to that level of honesty, which I wish that we all had it. Life would be less painful, and people would have.
If only everyone was honest, yeah.
Well, if everyone just said what they want, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
No beating around the bush.
I'm going to add to Delara's rant about the whole thing. A lot of people are not taking responsibility for what they want and complete honesty and ownership of what they want. I see this time and time again from not just my own experience, but friends that I have and just other colleagues and stuff, is that they're just not clear. They just go in like half-assed, as if they're just wanting for a result, but they're not committed to get the result. And so when they're going into a date, they kind of know what they want, but they haven't really actually sat down and said, "This is what I really want. This is my intention." Same with business. I mean, I can say the same with business. I mean, I've not been clear about what I want in business, so that's where I'm half-assed, you could say, or half committed, because I'm still working on what is it I want to provide as a business, right? Or what I want to build. Do I want to build an academy? Do I want to build online training? Do I want to go as a service provider? I still got those options, so I'm still like playing around and seeing what I want to do. Same with dating, right? You could play around and date and casual and do what you want to do and find what works for you, right? And find out what doesn't work for you. But if you keep complaining that you're not getting results, but you're not doing anything about being clear, then do something about being clear first. Just stop the complaining.
I hate when people do that.
Stop the moaning and just take the ownership and go, let's do it. Like, fuck it, let's do it.
I think that actually answers perhaps the next thing that my friend said, which is, what if she doesn't know what she wants, but knows what she doesn't want? So it seems like there's, you can get out there, test the waters, and find the things that you don't want, but then you've then got to turn it around and say, okay, these are the possibilities I've eliminated. What possibilities are left, and which of those possibilities are the ones I want to go with?
Do you know what the best thing to do on that exercise? Write a list. Write a list. Yeah. Pen and paper, write a list.
But I tell you what, to your friend as well, it's okay not to know what want. Like knowing what she doesn't want or he doesn't want, it's a great place to start. It doesn't make any difference, they can build up from there. Like writing it down.
Yeah. The more you write, the more clearer you get. Like, so many people are so surprised still, like how much clearer you get just pen and paper. I mean, that's the best old-fashioned way. And for me, even writing this, that's why, when in businesses we do whiteboards and brainstorms and stuff, right? For me, I do more, as of late, video blogs or video content. I voice out my brain and
Yeah, I figure there's two ways to get things out of your head, through your mouth or through your hands, whether it's writing or typing, although I do find writing works better. But
Get out of there.
let's get it out of here. But yeah, I think one thing when we're talking about what we want, and I think one thing that might hang a lot of people up, and this is something because I've been seeing a grief counselor. I've had about 8 sessions so far. I had 7, and then the counselor said, "Look, you've got 3 more. How about you keep them in your pocket until you need them?" And after I had my last breakup, I thought, I don't know, maybe I need to just check in and see where things are at. And she did, give me a bunch of valuable stuff. One of the most valuable thing that I think the thing that I really came out of it was it's okay to want things. Because I mean, we talk about what we want, but we almost sometimes we feel a bit afraid about wanting things. Do we deserve them? Are we worth these things that we want? Are we, can we achieve them? Really, is it impractical to want this thing? There's all this stuff that we have in our heads. And it was like, okay, no, it's okay to pick a direction for yourself, express yourself, and I actually wound up, funnily enough, it wasn't quite pen and paper. It was actually writing things out in a Google Doc. But I just wound up, after meeting someone, I kind of, for the first time, I thought, yeah, I want some stuff out of this. And I wrote a list and sort of like prefaced said, dear such and such, I just wanted to, this is where I'm at. Here's what I want. Ultimately, what I, and I did sort of, I think a list of about 6-point form things, then ended it with, ultimately, I want to get to know you better. And, I put it out there to her and to the universe. And as it turned out, I couldn't get all of the things on my point form list, but I am getting to know you better. And I think that's, one of the things that people worry about. It's like, what if I don't get what I want? Well, maybe life won't be so bad if you don't hit all of the things on your list. That's okay.
At least you tried.
What you might want, to quote the good old Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find that you get what you need.
And I'm just gonna comment on Kat. I met my husband in 2006 on Match.com. We got married in 2008 and have 3 children. We have had to work hard at our relationship, but are now happier and more than ever.
Oh.
Marriage can be something different, completely different to everyone.
See?
Bravo, Kat.
Congratulations.
At the end of the day, there is acceptance in so much diversity in this time. Sexuality, etc. If people are open about the desires, then surely we should accept them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I mean,
we should.
absolutely. I mean, that's the whole respect of respecting other people's choices.
Yeah.
Avoid the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Pretty
If we
much.
can't accept other people's choices, it probably says something about how well we're accepting our own.
Mm. Some people are just mean.
Michael's in the house.
I'll tell you what, that's the first time I've ever been called Rachel.
I was wondering who was Rachel, but I didn't want to say anything. Sorry, carry on.
Yes. I had a mate of mine tell me recently, that how, Chris, how happy I am to have you in my life. And I said, no worries, Sharon. But Sharon wasn't her name, of course, but yeah.
At least you didn't say the wrong name during sex. Totally never happened.
Is that
no, never.
Let's not talk about it.
Of course. No.
That must be really awkward.
Oh yeah, no, it was totally not awkward at all.
Michael living his best life.
Guys love that.
Commenting from the bath. Yes.
No, I'm in the bath, so no lies from me.
Best. That's it. You've just won. You've won in life, there, Michael.
Oh my God, Jono! I think the consultation.
Don't drop the tablet of the phone, for fuck's sake. Don't drop it.
Yeah, Kat. The consultation that Pete does teach would definitely work for relationships. You can definitely get a powerful consultation out of it.
Make sure what you're doing, though, because there's so much more than just the consultation when it comes to relationships.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right, I am gonna leave you guys now. It's getting late. 3 hours into the chat show. I'm sure you guys got loads more to talk about.
Well,
I was
I'm
gonna
going to
make
have to
you
get
say
going
so, but I
sometime
won't.
in the next 15, 20 minutes myself. But
I think it's
yeah,
probably. So I think we've probably ran down a good fair amount of content today.
I think we have.
Unless we've got any more questions, I think we may be good for today. Unless anyone else got any burning desire, burning questions to fire through.
I don't know.
No, yeah. The chat seems fairly quiet. But yeah,
It might be because it's the first Friday after lockdown.
It is
Oh,
the first
yeah,
Friday
everyone's-
after lockdown.
People are
Everyone's
out and
getting
about
out.
now.
exactly. Everyone's getting out, getting all the nookie that we've been talking about.
They don't want to talk
It's a
about
frenzy.
sex, they wanna get some action.
Lucky those guys.
Uh,
Lucky them.
Friday,
Wait,
yeah.
isn't the curfew out at 10 o'clock though?
well, as long as you're in somebody's place by
Yeah,
10
as long as
o'clock,
you're in a bed
isn't that
by
all
10
good?
o'clock, it's fine.
Yeah,
All right,
doesn't have to be it's somebody's and you're indoors.
Very different.
Of course,
Oh,
that
God.
kind
I
of
feel like
means
I
if
always
things
just
don't
dirty
work
the-
out,
the
you're going to be
room.
in trouble if you have to leg it. But you know,
I'm always dirtying the chat show. Sorry.
That's what we love you for, Kirstie. You
part
bring
of
out
it, it's
the
part of your charm. It's part
Don't
of
worry,
your
give
charm.
it. Wait till I get to like a bit older, and I'll just be this. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, my count's getting low too.
Did you ask me what Michael says? COVID swing party going on, maximum of 6 only.
Hey, challenge
That's-
accepted. Challenge
That's
accepted.
4 more. That's 4 more than most people have in their bedroom, like throughout most of their lives.
2
Don't knock
girls,
it.
4 guys. That could work. That's fine. 2 girls, 4 guys. That's more than enough space.
Absolutely. You know, you've got to have the ratio right because the guys get tired out too damn quick. You know.
Exactly. You can do rota, just rotate them in.
Oh God.
Especially when they hit their 30s.
Oh,
Just
God.
getting into it. Might need to revisit these conversations.
All right. I love you guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Nice.
Thank you, Ick. Love you too.
Love you, bro.
I wasn't sure if I
Cool.
should add the love you there as well, so I just kind of didn't.
awkward L word, Kirstie.
Oh God, don't! That word's banished from my vocabulary.
You don't say love you to your friends?
Oh no, I definitely do. But when it gets to like anyone
Someone that
else,
you only just met.
yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I think we will finish there. If everyone's good for that. I mean, because it's late for Dilara as well.
Yeah, it's
It's
about
like 3
Half 3?
a.m. Jesus,
Yeah.
my goodness.
how
And
much?
then-
Oh my.
So we
it's coming
will
up on-
thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. We do our best. And thank you, Kirstie and Rob and Dilara, for being on the guest on the shows. As always.
You're welcome, folks.
I hope you guys
Hello,
enjoyed
folks.
the show.
Hope to do a few more, but yeah, don't want to wear out my welcome or come board. So we'll, maybe in a few months' time or a few weeks' time, perhaps I'll back on.
You can hear more endeavors of your.
I don't know. Oh, some people can get a lot done in a few weeks. I don't know how much I can get done on that front, but yeah.
I will get back to you.
If anyone
Oh,
else wants to be a
I'm
guest,
so jealous, Kirstie.
anyone else wants to be a guest, feel free to drop me a DM. Because on Wednesday night, we've got Esmond Shen, who is a Twitch streamer and gamer, and he is also a esport team player
Wow.
for
What does he
Tekken.
play?
Nice.
For Tekken. So he'll be on
Ah.
Wednesday night to share about his journey in mental health, gaming, and part of his journey, I suppose, becoming an esport gamer. So that'd be interesting.
Might have to check it out.
And then also on Friday evening, we've got Dilara and we got Rob from Coaching for Geeks for the Love and Relationships. And it will be more about his scene of the dating in the LGBT world.
So just to check, is that Rob or Robin?
Robin, sorry.
Robin, yeah.
Robin from,
Oh, that'd be so interesting. Oh, I see. I love Robin. I could
and
say
that will
to
be the
Robin.
He's
LGBT
quality.
series. That'll
Yeah,
be something
I
new
love Robin.
that'll be something new for our conversation because we haven't touched upon that topic.
Kat,
Oh.
would it be appropriate for Joshua?
The esports stuff. Wednesday night, Cat.
I won't be
Awesome.
there, so probably.
What's that?
I said I won't be there, so it'll probably be appropriate.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait to see Robin
dragging
next
the
week.
quality of the chat down.
See, yeah, everyone loves Robin. I love Robin.
And it'll be a topic that we haven't touched upon yet, LGBT stuff. So that'd be a good one to go on to. Awesome. Thank you very much all. And have a good night and have a lovely weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.